Oh, yeah, headset? We're all on. I don't know if he's asking you. I think it'll be
Yes, I know. They're everywhere. One, two, 1, 2. Mic check, mic check.
right now, Howard. All right, Sydney, this is we're going to start in 1 minute. If you can get in the center.
Okay. Okay.
The mic is hot. The mic is hot.
Can I have everyone's attention, please? Can we all have a seat, please? Yes.
At the end, like wait, at the end. We're going to get started any moment. I think 5 minutes.
Let's wait
Yeah.
five
Yeah.
minutes or so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
In the future, I think it would be great. I don't know if you have the plans for this or it's easy, but to have a microphone that we could everybody could hear. You know what I mean? Just to kind of corral them. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
when-
Well, when we're
I mean,
ready.
this is great. Well, yeah.
Okay, stand by, guys. We're starting.
No, I think we're going to give it 5 minutes.
Could you just tell John and Howard 5 minutes?
Guys, we're going to get started in 5 minutes. Everyone, you can start taking your seats, grab a wine, grab a snack. Okay, awesome. So you guys, if everyone can take your seats, we're going to get started. Got so quiet all of a sudden. You guys, is this the coolest place you've ever been to? It is. We are so fortunate that BrandStar has offered us this amazing space to create an amazing experience tonight for cystic fibrosis and tomorrow's leaders. And the first thing we're going to do is have we're going to have a few words from Doug, the co-founder of BrandStar. So do you want to come up, Doug? So Doug we'll be hearing from Mark Alfieri, who is our CEO here, right? And Doug is going to say a few words. And they've been together for almost 20 years, right? Yeah.
33, but who's counting? You know.
Anyway, maybe you could, tell us a little bit about the background here. It's amazing.
Thank you, Cindy. And thank you all for being here tonight and welcome. We are so thrilled to have you guys here in our studio. I'm just thrilled to have people back together in a room, quite honestly. It's kind of cool. So it's a lot of fun for us because, we love having these events here and quite honestly, showing off some of the things the capabilities that we have here. So thank you guys so much for being here. We're honored to host this event and we're honored to support an organization like Cystic Fibrosis, thank you. And what a wonderful organization, and that we get to come alongside and support this group. And we love to be a part of these nonprofit organizations and be able to support those types of things. Just a little snapshot about BrandStar. If you're not familiar with BrandStar, I will tell you first and foremost about BrandStar, we are a people-first company. We serve our clients, but we serve our employees as well. And it's really important to us here to be able to do that. And our purpose as a company is to positively impact people's lives. And we believe we do that with our content. And our mission is that we connect people with brands so that they can do life better. So one of the things that we've done for these years is we've produced educational programs. You'll see some of the signs behind me here. We've produced programs such as Military Makeover. It's hosted by Montel Williams. It's a give back show. We get to give back to vets that have given so much to us. We have The Balancing Act. The Balancing Act actually is the longest running show on the Lifetime Network. A show called Designing Spaces, which is back here somewhere, Video Globetrotter. We have a new show that we launched with Montel called Competitive Edge. And we're launching a new series called Be Latina. So educational programming has been the core and the root of our company over these years. We also, as a company, have kind of migrated into providing marketing services for brands. So we have digital strategy, we have branding, we have web services, SEO services. Because of the number of companies we work with, we now provide a lot of these other services. Obviously, we're a full-service production facility that produces fantastic productions. So the other part of the company that's really important to us also is an organization internally called BrandStar Cares. And BrandStar Cares was an organization that was formed about 3 years ago because we started to do a lot more work locally and in the community, which is hugely important. And so we formed an organization to work a lot more with groups down here in South Florida, like Gateway Community Outreach, 4 Kids of South Florida, Junior Achievement. I see Lori up here in front. And we're just thrilled to be working closer with nonprofit organizations, and it's a big part of our company. So again, just a little snapshot about BrandStar. We're thrilled to have you here. Can't wait to hear the speakers. I know we got some incredible people here tonight to speak to us. And I'm going to turn this back over to Cindy and let her kick this off. So again, welcome. Glad to have you here.
So just so everyone knows, we're all speaking loud. The microphone is for the live stream. So I just wanted to, we couldn't do these types of events without partners. And I just wanted to share a few of our really important partners for this event. Obviously, BrandStar. So thank you so much for everything that you've done to put this event together. And I just wanted to say the team here is phenomenal. Every single person that I worked with went above and beyond. Literally, we were on the phone at 11 o'clock midnight. These ladies and men have been going above and beyond to give back, and that's one of the core pieces of culture at BrandStar, and also their BrandStar Cares division. So Cystic Fibrosis Foundation obviously is the reason that we're here. And I wanted to just share, I'll have Ron Saunders just stand up, but his cousin, he is the chair of South Florida Cystic Fibrosis, and honestly, he is the reason that we're all here. I learned about the organization. I'm on the board because of Ron. His cousin has cystic fibrosis, and we will learn more about her as we go on in the program. And I just wanted to mention TEDx Boca Raton as a partner. I'm co-organizer of TEDx Boca Raton, and the event is coming up on January 29th. I would encourage all of you to come. Anyone friends of BrandStar get 40% off. You can use the code BSTAR and buy tickets to TEDx Boca Raton. And then Fit Team is one of our partners. We're very grateful for them. They've donated some Fit Sticks and Eat Me Guilt Free. Christy's one of our speakers tonight, and everyone will be able to taste her amazing protein brownies. And the Shrimp Tank, Jayson, he does an entrepreneurship podcast with FAU. Always giving back to the community and sharing, so we're very grateful. He also has a new app that he developed called Owl, so I would encourage everybody to download the app. It's awesome. And then Premier Virtual, the CEO of Premier Virtual is here. He's going to be talking, and we're going to learn a little bit more about what they do. They're doing amazing things in the community. And POWERHOME Solar. Obviously, Jayson is our first speaker tonight, and we'll be getting to him momentarily. And Beverages, so it's a woman-owned company, and I would encourage everyone, they're little, adorable little cans of wine. And the Sisterhood for Success is an organization that I started. It's a passion project of mine, and we do a lot of events to give back to women. And so, so we're excited to be here, to be part of this. I'm going to invite Colette, who is in charge, senior director at, at Cystic Fibrosis, and Hunter Frazier. So if you can come up and tell us a little bit about CF. And again, one of the reasons we're here is because the next generation of leaders is called Tomorrow's Leaders. There's an organization with cystic fibrosis called Tomorrow's Leaders, and we want you guys to spread the word. You'll learn about it more tonight. Spread the word, encourage people to get involved, because the more people know about the organization, obviously the more lives we're going to save. So I'm going to give this to Colette and Hunter, and then I'll be back shortly.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. And we feel so privileged to have this opportunity. I also want to thank Cindy for helping to organize this, BrandStar Studios, and all of the speakers. It's truly heartwarming to know that so many people got together to make this happen. My name is Colette Beelan, by the way, and I've been with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for over 8 years now, and I've had the privilege to see lives changed just within the small amount of time that I've been with them. The foundation started back in 1955, and during that time, children that were diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, and I can say it a little bit easier, I've had a lot of practice, they weren't making it to elementary school, and parents who received these diagnoses said that that was not acceptable. So they got together and they created our foundation. And so after in 1989, the president at the time he presented what is called venture philanthropy. And venture philanthropy is when a nonprofit hires a for-profit company to work for them. We couldn't get pharmaceutical companies to look at cystic fibrosis because it only affects 30,000 Americans and only 70,000 people worldwide. So what venture philanthropy is that we grassroots fundraise, and then we hire the pharmaceutical companies to do the work for us. So then in 2000, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation invested $40 million into a company that's called Vertex. And the reason that we hired them was for the opportunity for research in the first potential treatment for the underlying cause of cystic fibrosis. Jump to 2019, we actually made it that they came up with a brand new drug called Trikafta, and it was the very first drug that would affect over 90% of our population. This was historical, and the FDA approved it within 90 days because they saw the benefit of it. So because of all of the research and the technology and our investment and venture philanthropy, we have been able to get the average age from early 5, 6 years old to now people are living to 30, 40, and even beyond that. But yeah. It is very exciting. I mean, I can't tell you the pride that I have in knowing that the money that people that invest in not only my relationship, but this foundation, that it is making the world of difference. It is changing people's lives now. So what we're really excited about is that since we're speaking about the future this evening, we're excited about the future for people living with CF. And the reason that is because of young professionals like Hunter, who are taking the step to get involved and to learn about what the program is. Tomorrow's Leaders is a free program offered through the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And it is a networking opportunity, professional as well as personal development. We have national speaker series throughout the year. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get involved. Hunter actually got involved just this year because she knew a family friend who has a son with cystic fibrosis. Just to give you a little bit of background on Hunter is that she just recently graduated from Florida State. Go Noles. And she moved back to South Florida to start to do real estate with her mother. And within the 1 year that she has been, that they have partnered, this dynamic duo has increased their sales by $20 million. We have the go-getters. So these are the kind of people that you'll be networking with when you join Tomorrow's Leaders. But she also knows the value of giving back and being part of something bigger than herself. So she got involved with us this year as our Rock the Roses campaign. And not to surprise you, but she raised over $10,000 this year. So we would really like to recognize her efforts. The CF video, and then Hunter's going to say a few words. Sure. We can just stand here a little.
A lot of times people get involved with organizations, you'll find, when they've lost someone to a disease. And I always said, I don't want I don't want to wait until I lose my sister. I don't want to wait until she's gone to really be motivated to help this cause. Now that she is gone, of course, I'm more determined than ever. My name is Kristen Brockman, and my little sister Kelsey had cystic fibrosis, and I've been volunteering with the CF Foundation since about 2008. My sister Kelsey was, I know everyone says they have the best sister in the world, but I think my sister was just such a special and unique, talented person, and she truly affected everybody she met. She dressed super funky and fashionable. She loved to paint. We were so close. She gave me motivation. Everything I did in my life was because of her. Every year I do one main fundraising event. I do the CF Climb, which is a stair climb event.
My sister had beautiful long red hair. She loved The Little Mermaid her whole life. So this year we're like, we're gonna go with Under the Sea.
I feel great right now. We'll see how we feel after step number 4,000.
Volunteering for the CF Foundation makes me feel so good. You feel like you're making a difference. Even though I didn't save my sister, I think truly what we're doing here will save people in the long run. You should volunteer with the CF Foundation because there are so many improvements and advancements being made. We're moving so quickly with the drugs that are being developed, the therapies, the way we're improving the lives of people with CF. If we don't have you, it's not gonna happen. Whoever you are, whatever you're capable of doing, whether it's sitting and eating a nice meal or it's walking or climbing 2,000 steps, there's something for everybody. And they're all really fun events. This money makes such a difference because these people living with CF are living longer and longer and better lives and fuller lives. I think everybody should find something to give their time and energy to. And I'd love it if it was to the CF Foundation. Become a CF Foundation teammate. Let's find a cure for cystic fibrosis together.
All right, well, that was really great video. My name is Hunter, like Colette introduced me. I just want to say a big thank you to Colette, Cindy, Brandstar for letting me be a part of tonight's program. I'm super, super excited to get to listen and learn from all of our amazing speakers tonight. I hope that my future holds the same caliber of successes as all of you guys. So if I'm being completely honest, I really didn't know anything about cystic fibrosis up until about a few months ago, like not one thing. Grey's Anatomy really did not prepare me for any of it the way that tomorrow's leaders and the foundation have. Before joining, I was really stuck on not having a relationship with anybody with CF, not a family member, not a friend that had CF. And I thought that you needed to know someone with CF in order to be involved with it. And Colette taught me that, no, you don't have to do that. You really just have to care, and that's all that you need to get involved. She spoke about Tomorrow's Leaders. It's a free membership program for people between the ages of 21 and 40. There's a ton of opportunities to get involved with leadership, networking events just like this one. So it's a really amazing program to get started with. At Florida State, I was involved in Relay for Life. And then since moving back home to South Florida and getting involved in real estate, I really wanted to sink my heart into another organization. And I'm super, super blessed to have met Colette and have the CF Foundation to fall back on and give back to. It's really been a blessing in so many ways. So I highly, highly recommend if anybody is looking for a networking opportunity to get involved with, to meet other like-minded individuals, to check out Tomorrow's Leaders. So I'll hand the mic back to Cindy.
Thank you so much. So next we're going to start our speaker series, and I just want to say again, how cool is this place and how cool to be around 8 amazing speakers. Every single speaker is going to wow you. So first we have Jayson Waller. Jayson grew up in a trailer park, never finished traditional high school, but he didn't let that define his future. He bootstrapped 2 home security companies into multi-million-dollar enterprises and has his current venture, POWERHOME Solar, on a path to becoming a billion-dollar business. Jayson pays it forward by sharing his entrepreneurial insights and donating to worthy charities. His podcast, True Underdog, and there's a lot of swag bags back there from True Underdog. So thank you, Jayson. We're doing raffles for all the items back there. So anyone who's here, this obviously is a free event. So if you could give a little, that money from the raffles is going to cystic fibrosis. So I'm going to invite Jayson on the stage, and you guys are going to be wowed and entertained. And Jayson's story is going to inspire you to walk away and hopefully get involved with cystic fibrosis, because he gives so much to so many different charities and the corporate culture that he has. And yeah, I'd like to invite him up. So Jayson, please come up. Well, the video's
Jayson
coming.
Waller is leading the solar energy movement across America. Raised in a trailer park with no college education, he's built 2 multi-million-dollar companies and is currently building a billion-dollar company as the founder of POWERHOME Solar. The 2019 Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year inspires others about his incredible journey with his podcast, True Underdog, a top 3 ranking among Apple entrepreneurship podcasts. His new book, Own Your Power, is a bestseller, and TV enthusiasts recognize him as the controversial judge on the award-winning television show 2 Minute Drill.
So first, I want to say thanks to everybody here for being a part of this, to put this thing together for the future leaders and the speakers, tomorrow's leaders, Brand Star, everybody. Cystic fibrosis, I said that correctly, right? I didn't know a lot about it until a couple years ago. We've been a part of donating some money to different charities like that. And anytime that you can help or pay it forward, it's important. We get stuck in our own ways sometimes, and we forget that people need help. People need to be taught things. People need to give back because it comes full circle. And what I'm going to talk about today is some of that. I've got a book out called Own Your Power. No BS, no excuses. The time is now. And I'm no different than a lot of you folks out there watching or listening, to where you've had bumps in the road. You've had obstacles you've had to overcome. You've had deficiencies in your life, whether you were born poor or born rich, born without a mom or a dad, or however your situation is. Everybody's got their own problems that they've got to overcome, right? And they've got to put that perspective and change their mindset. So I'm going to kind of go over a few chapters here and really try to inspire and motivate people to get out of their way and have 8 reasons to not live a no-excuse life, right? And so I'm going to start by, it mentioned the 2019 EY Entrepreneur of the Year Award that I won. I remember when I went to the event, I had to really show myself off to all of these judges and pitch them why I should be the EY winner. I didn't even know that we applied for the thing. And a buddy of mine, we were having a little adult game night, right? We had adults over, we have a game night. And a buddy of mine, Brian, who works for EY up in Michigan, is like, hey, I hear you're up for a finalist for the EY Entrepreneur of the Year Award. We get tons of awards, and I'm not trying to diminish any kind of award, but I was like, yeah, whatever, yeah, it's fine. He's like, are you going to the thing? I said, I ain't going to the thing. I'm not interested, it's no big deal. He said, this is a big deal. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, Damon, I think it's Damon John from FUBU, right? He won the award. Several people have won the award. You need to take this seriously. So I call my guy, Raj, right? Roger's our PR blogger. And I say, dude, I think it's next week. Can you schedule me to be a part of the event and the whole festivities? And what do I got to do? What do I got to know? I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. How am I going to pitch this? So he sets it up. I get the folder. I open it up when we get there for the dinner and the cocktail hour, and I go through and I see that everybody there, all the judges, are ex-winners, right? And they're all white shoe Ivy League folks. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you are. I'm just not that. So I'm walking around. I'm like, all right, I'm trying to find my groove. And Chevy Arnold, who is over the entire thing for the Southeast, comes up and starts talking to me and Roger. And at the time, Zion Williamson was debating leaving Duke, this is 2019, and going MBA or not. And the Pelicans had the first pick. They ended up drafting him. But they said on there that he might go back to Duke. So I mentioned to Chevy and Roger, I said, hey, you know, Zion Williamson said he might go back to Duke. She says, is that where you went to college? Before I could even think about it, I said, I didn't go to college. She said, oh, you're the one. So I was like, I'm the one what? You're one of the very few finalists ever that didn't go to college that's up here for an EY award that's built a business, right? And I'm like, I've got something. Makes me unique. It makes me different. Something I thought might have been a problem, something that made me insecure in life. I had something that made me different to stand out. You know, we talk about sheep, we talk about lions. How can I put this into my pitch to show them that I'm a lion, that I want to win? So that's what I did. I went in there and I had to talk to 10 judges and then go into another room, talk to 10 judges. And I told them why I should be the winner, because I bootstrapped, because nobody gave me anything, because I invested my whole life savings in building a business, not once, not twice, but 3 times. That I didn't have the education. I had to learn from experience and do all those things. And when I left that meeting, Roger called me and said, how do you think it went? Usually 9 times out of 10, someone does an interview or they do something, they go, oh, I could have, I should have, I could have done that, I could have. I dropped the mic. I said, there's nothing I could change. I should win. Fast forward, we go to the event. I'm a little nervous. We're at the table. They're showing a lot of philanthropy. We give over $1 million in philanthropy every year, right? Give it up for that because that's important. You got to give back, right? That's what this is about. But they weren't showing that on the video. They were showing my competitors having something else on the video. Like, you know, them doing the philanthropy, us doing nothing but just building solar. And I was like, I looked to my wife, I said, I don't think I'm gonna win. Like, I thought I was gonna win. Now I don't think I'm gonna win. They called my name. I was in awe, right? I got to go up there, was the first one to win. You know, they had 8 categories that night. And I thought that I only had like 60 seconds to give a speech. So I did it in 60 seconds. Turns out some people are going 8, 9 minutes. This was 2019. Had I known, I'd still be doing the speech today in 2021. I assure you. I had a lot to people to thank and to tell the story about how we got there. But you join a group, a brotherhood of, you know, being an EY entrepreneur winner. Men, female, all of them in there together. I got invited to the hotel party on the top floor, and they said, hey, Jayson, you should share your story. You should write a book. I said, I've never even read a book. They said, well, you need to write a book. I said, well, I don't know about that. So I kind of shelved that. Went back to the room. I'm sitting there with my wife. We're overlooking the Atlanta Braves' new stadium. That's where it was at. It was in Atlanta. And I had this, how the F did I get here moment? Like, how did I get here? And it reminded me of about 21 years before that, where I was a 17-year-old kid with my girlfriend pregnant. I dropped out of school. I didn't have a college education. I didn't graduate a traditional high school. I worked since I was 14, helping my parents pay bills. Lived in a trailer park. My parents were blue collar, working 2, 3 jobs, whatever we had to do. I had no excuses. Made me who I am. But I remember being back in that moment with my girlfriend at the time pregnant, and us going through a lot of issues because her mom was telling her she had to give the baby up for adoption, that she was not allowed to have this child because she was 16, turning 17 years old. It wasn't a choice, that she could not have this kid, and that she would be bringing around, her mom would be bringing around different people to adopt our child. And I'm 17, turning 18 years old. I don't know my rights. I don't know what's going on. I'm fighting with my girlfriend because her mom's so involved. And I remember that moment. I remember going through that process of when Hannah, my daughter, was born. And I remember that Liz, my wife, we're married now 20 plus years, 4 kids, 2 grandkids and everything. So there's a good thing to the story, right? Right? But I remember her telling me, because we were on and off a lot when we were young because we were kids raising kids. And I remember her telling me, look, I'm getting induced tomorrow. You want to come see Hannah born, show up to the hospital. Well, I showed up with a Polaroid camera. For those that don't know what a Polaroid camera is, it's cool, look it up. But it's a Polaroid camera, you take a picture, you shake it out, it was good. I was excited. I showed up with my buddy Benji. I went into the hospital. As I pulled up to the hospital, I saw her mom and her sister running out of the parking lot. I'm like, okay. I walk in, I said, is Elizabeth Stovey here? The nurse said, no. I said, I just saw her parents, her mom and her sister, and she's having my kid. I want to see my daughter. She said, she's not here. She's actually under an alias name. And, oh, sorry. Yeah, she's under an alias name, right? And so I then said, well, what am I supposed to do? I was getting emotional. She's like, well, this is when you can go to the nursery and see the kids. They turned the names around, but you could see them. So I say, what can I do? She said, go up there and take pictures of the kids. You won't know which one's yours, but you can take pictures and figure it out. So I go upstairs, 18 years old, and I start taking pictures of these kids that I don't know which kid's mine. I broke down. I got emotional. Going back to 2019, when I remember how did I get here, I remember that moment that happened where I couldn't see my kid be born. I didn't know which kid was mine. I was leaving. I was upset. I was 18 years old. I decided 2 lives were going to change that day. One, I was going to change the person I was, and I was going to make my own map, which is really my first chapter in the book, that nobody, not her mom, not my parents, not friends, not bosses, not peers, not haters, not anybody, would dictate my map, that it's my life and it's my map to live. And my daughter's life would change because I was going to be in her life and be the best I can be, regardless of what was going on. So I went and got a loan on my car that day and sued for joint custody. I was nervous her mom was going to force her to give the baby up for adoption and or call social services, which she threatened to do. Fast forward, I get to see my daughter for the first time 7 days later. That moment was a defining moment for me to really turn on and say, I have to control my own destiny. Now that's a personal time that's happened, but it's happened in business many, many times, where I've been at a crossroad where I've got to make a decision. Either I'm going to go right or I'm going to go left. And the problem we have as entrepreneurs, as people, is that we get stuck in the mud and we don't make a decision. And that's the worst thing you can do, because then you live with regret forever. But if you make a decision and you make your own map, you might not get the results you want, but you're going to learn from that. You're going to get more knowledge and experience. I told you, I didn't go to college. I tell this to people all the time. True story, I didn't know what EBITDA meant 4 years ago. I got a company that's going to do $800 million in revenue this year. I didn't know what EBITDA meant 4 years ago. That's as true as it could be. But I didn't have to, because I hired people smarter than me in different categories to help me grow and to elevate, and it could be part of what we're doing. I think that brings me to chapter 2. There's no elevator in life. You got to take the stairs. As an entrepreneur opening a home security business when I was 24 years old, knocking doors, doing the pitch, hey, how many cars you got going by your house? I'd like to put the sign in your yard, give you a free system. It's $1 a day monitoring. Bam. I was selling home security all the time, training people to do it. I loved it. I was passionate about it. I had a why. I felt like I was protecting people. They were 19 times less likely to get broken into if they got a home security system. So I loved what I did. That passion allowed me to continue to build the business because people would follow me into that. But I was a young entrepreneur that thought I knew everything. I had to control everything. The problem is when we think we know everything or we think we're great at everything, we're really not great at all. And we have to realize that you can be great. Like, I feel like I'm great at like 2 things. And then I'm good at like 5, and then the rest I suck. And that's okay. That's okay, because that's how everybody usually is. And I think life and business are like puzzles. And so when I say there's no elevator in life, you got to take the stairs. You got to take the time to get the experience. You got to have enough humility and a way to put your ego aside and learn from other people and trust the process. Had somebody just told me a bunch of things that I didn't live through the experiences, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I didn't have to go to an Ivy League college. And nothing against the people that do, but I remember days where I was running a business early on and I was intimidated. I was bothered about that. Like, I wasn't as smart. That's kind of what we've instilled in our kids and we grew up with. If you don't go to college, you're a loser. That's not true. I mean, look it up. Most of your billionaires didn't go to college. That's what happens. I purposely do not force my kids to want to go to college. I don't put that on them where they feel they have to do that. I tell them, you got to find something that makes you happy. And learning the process, taking the stairs, getting that experience really builds that knowledge and experience up. I go to never be held hostage. We talk about in life and in business, there are people in your life that hold you down. Could be a spouse, could be a sibling, could be somebody that works for you. We talked earlier about having door knockers, and the problem when you're building a sales organization is sometimes you build your company around 1 or 2 top salespeople. And then they hold you hostage and say, you need to pay me more. You need to I'm worth more, pay me more, or I'm gonna leave. And then you're stuck compromising your morals in business or in life for somebody holding you hostage. Everybody who's been in business has experienced that before, and people in their personal lives have experienced it as well. Where you just feel like, hey, because I'm blood related to this person, I have to have a relationship with them. You don't. I've had bumps in the road with my family. I've had bumps in the road with my wife's family, right? But you gotta draw the line. Being blood related to somebody doesn't entitle them to see your kids or entitle them to have a relationship with you. A relationship, a friendship, a partnership, that's mutual. You give and you take. It's beneficial for both. And a lot of times we allow and compromise our happiness, our energy, our morals, our belief in business and personal by being held hostage. It goes back to the map. If you're making your own map, you can't be held hostage. You can't let people dictate and handcuff you to be who you're intended to be, to have the relationships you want to have, to dictate where you're going to go. The next chapter we talk about turn failure into fuel. I failed many times. I got a lot of awards. They never give me awards for going broke or not getting a paycheck for 2 years, right? When I did security, I was crushing it, right? I was building a business. Security was hot. It was, 2004 to 2015. I was exploding. I was like, this is great. Did it in 2 companies. Sold it, made some money, and said, I'm gonna get into solar. I love solar. Why? Because I can put a dent in this universe. I can make a difference in people's lives. I can create a way for people to own their power and not rent their power, right? A way for people to have energy independence and not just depend on everything else. And I got excited about that. So I opened a solar company, 2015. Did $3 million in sales, lost over $1 million. So the money I made from the home security business, which wasn't much, a little over a couple $1 million, stuck back in the business. Year 2, did 14 million in sales, still lost money. For 22 months, me and my partner didn't get a paycheck. Here I was building my career, organizations, running a security company, thinking I knew it all. Oh, I'm gonna get into solar. I made money, I'm good. I got this house on Lake Norman, on the water, $2 million house in a Trump neighborhood. Life is great. I'm gonna do this solar thing. Well, life wasn't great. The end of 2015, I had to make a decision. I had 35 employees. I told you we did 3 million in sales. I had to make a decision if I was gonna shut down. I was at a Disney trip that I probably shouldn't have went on. I prepaid for it before, didn't have the money to really go. I'm watching the kids have a good time. I'm getting irritated. We should be using this money to fix the business. What am I doing? And I was getting upset. And I had to look at my wife and I said, look, I don't know what to do. This is the first time that I feel like I'm gonna have to quit. I've got 34 employees. We're losing money. We're not getting paid. Everything I've worked for in my life is in this company. What do I do? She said, you gotta pray about it. So I did. I woke up the next morning and I had this fierce attitude that I was gonna kick the door in, fire everybody, and change the way it was gonna do business, right? Well, I did kick the door in after I sold my house on the lake and took that money and put it in the business so I wouldn't be held hostage. So we had money to continue to operate. And then I went in and fired about 80% of the people and started to hire on culture, personality, integrity, morals. Why are they here? Do they have a why? Or are they here for a paycheck? I started laying the groundwork to building a great culture. I started to turn failure into wins, into success, because I would go and try to sell something. I didn't get it. I wanted to share and take that information I failed at and teach it to the other people. I knew I had to keep falling down and struggle in order to get better. I knew I had to do that. And that brings me to scared money don't make money. I had to bet on myself. I sold my house. Wife gave me the stink eye, and I had to stick everything, not only the money I made from the first 2 security companies, but the money I made, or the money I had in the house, I had to stick in the business, and we downsized. And I had kids going, why are we living here? It's just what we gotta do. Sometimes you gotta put your ego aside. You gotta check it. Sometimes you gotta be humble for the greater good. Sometimes you gotta realize that success isn't what you have, who you are, or how much money you make. It's being fulfilled. That's being successful. I know tons of people that are as successful as can be that don't have a lot of things. They don't make a lot of money, but they're so happy and they're so fulfilled. Teachers, people that help run foundations that give back to the community. They're fulfilled. They don't do it for self-righteousness. They do it because it feels good. And I knew that I had to get right by that. I knew I had to be a part of something that felt good. So I put everything and doubled down and grew the business up. Now, year 3, we ended up doing 40 million in sales. We were profitable. Year 4, we did 105. Year 5, we did 185. Last year, we did 360 million. We'll break 700 million this year, and we're getting ready to go public. So that is called scared money don't make money, because you double down on yourself. We're at 2,400 employees and in 15 states now. And had I shut down and quit, we wouldn't have those 2,400 employees. We wouldn't have those 30,000 customers. We wouldn't have made a dent in the universe about going green and having renewable energy and creating new jobs that we've done. And that brings me to love your haters. We've all got haters. I love to talk about it. It's my favorite thing in the world. If there's anything sick about me that's twisted, it's that I love haters to tell me I can't and I won't. I mentioned my mother-in-law, right? She's now my mother-in-law, and I love her dearly. We got a good relationship. But I told you what she put me through early, and the relationship was rocky for years. But while I was struggling in the solar business in 16, after I was selling my house and putting that money in the business, my mother-in-law saw an opportunity and told my wife, hey, I'd like to invest in Jayson's company. So my wife came to me. My mom'd like to put 100 grand in the company. Now, take in mind, I've already put like 3 million in the business. 100 grand ain't gonna do much. And she told me, and I said, heck no, I'd rather fall off a truck, get ran over 8 times. I don't want anything from your mom. There's not a chance. Heck no. I'm not doing it. No way. I'm out. Like, I want nothing from her. I'd rather drop dead, leave me alone. I don't want to do it. I was upset. She's like, really? I said, yeah, really. Like, I want nothing from her. I had this sickness because how they used to judge me. Her family used to judge me living in a trailer park, told me I could stick my feet outside the window and move my trailer. That's what they used to say. And I used to be like, can we really do that? Like, we could. It's pretty cool. But I had this mentality. I would be in high school and people would make fun of me for wearing fake Tommy Hilfigers. And I was like, I hated feeling less than because of the money I had or where I grew up. Everyone can relate to that. Sometimes you feel less than. Maybe it's because of your gender or your race or where you live. I was feeling that because I was broke, because I went to a school where people had money and I didn't. And I struggled with that. It gave me this thing like, I don't ever want to feel that again. So I started to turn that hate into fuel. When people would hate on me, I turned it into fuel. Fast forward about the money. I went to my business partner. I said, dude, you're going to get a hoot out of this. Tish wants to invest $100,000 in the business. I said, hell no. He said, dude, we should do that. Why? We don't need it. I just put over $1 million. I sold the house. We don't need it. He said, man, what better way than to make your mother-in-law, who's been your biggest critic and your biggest hater, make money? We won't even touch the money, Jayson. We'll put it in a different account. We never have to touch it. How awesome and sick would it be that you get her paid back? And I said, that's a great idea. So we said yes. We stuck it in an account. We didn't touch it. 3 years later, she was a millionaire. We bought her out. That's called turning your haters. You've got to love your haters. That's taking that and making it. What bigger way to turn that hater to a fan, to make them a millionaire, right? Someone who didn't believe in me. You can't hate the haters. You got to love them. You got to understand that there's 3 kinds of areas that people sit in their life. And I've been in all 3. I'm guilty of it. 1, you can be positive and you can love people that are successful and you can promote and elevate people and you can want to learn and be knowledgeable and train and be better, right? That's where we want to stay. That's where I'm at today. Like, you just want to help people and just do great things, and I love to see success. Group 2 is those people that are insecure. We all know those people. My family was insecure. As I started to elevate and make money, my family would be like, I have to take my shoes off. Like, why is your house so big? Like, it was insecure. They weren't hating. They were insecure. You ever think of Homer Simpson backing up into the bushes, right? And he's like, oh, I don't want to be here. There's people that live insecure. I've been there before. I've been around people where I'm like, whoa, I'm kind of insecure. I was insecure about people who graduated college. I was insecure about running a business at 24 years old, right? And then the third group is your haters, the people that your success is their failure, right? And their failure is your success, and they blame and they point the finger and they make excuses. That's all they do. We know some of those people. They're toxic. You don't have to hate them back. You need to get away from them, and you need to turn that into fuel to be positive. I had so many people tell me when I left the security business to open up the solar business, that will never, ever, ever work. Good luck with that. Glad to say some of them work for me now. Some of them are dealers for me now. They're begging to get into the industry now. But that's what it's about. It's not about holding people in that hatred of mud. It's about elevating them and turning them into fans, right? Team out. I talked about it earlier. Life is like a puzzle, and you got to find people around you that aren't the same, but that are better than you in other ways. You can't be great at everything, so find people great at other things. I had to find a CFO who knew what EBITDA meant, knew how to get our books right. I didn't know what we were doing. I used QuickBooks. We're doing 18 million sales. I'm using QuickBooks. That's a true story. That's not good, okay? Thank God we've had audited financials. We've done everything since then. Things that I've learned as I go. But I also had to bring in a president that understood how to build corporate structure and HR and things that I didn't understand. I'm a sales guy. I'm a motivator. I'm an inspirer. I could scale. I'm not good at that other stuff, and that's okay. I don't have to be. I surround myself with other great leaders that can be great at that stuff, and I could lead them. And that's about teaming out. You find people, whether you're hiring people or whether you're going into a relationship, that can elevate you, that can uplift you, not hold you down. You want to be around. You only get one life. You don't get a redo, and all your energy, you want to make sure it's elevating yourself and the people around you care about. That's what this is about. And last but not least is focus on the play-by-play. You know, every single day you have to set goals. And the biggest problem people have is they set these extremely high goals and they get discouraged. I'm gonna open this business, I'm gonna be rich. Doesn't work that way. You need to open a business because you love what you do. And then you wanna help other people get a job. You know, I have 3 rules when you're running a business or you're building a business. Rule 1 is the first people you pay when you're making money in the business is your people. The second thing you pay is your vendors, and the third is reinvest. And people say, when do you pay yourself? You don't. When you're a true entrepreneur and you're building a business, you're living off ramen noodles and peanut butter and jelly. Or if it's me, it's SpaghettiOs. I love SpaghettiOs, right? That's what you live off. You don't go and open a business because you want to be rich. You open a business because you want to make a difference. And you want to bet on yourself. You want to be a leader. People will follow you if you show them you're reinvested in the company and you believe in something. But when you don't believe in something and you're selfish and you're taking that money out of the business, people won't follow you. You know, as we go into this world, as we continue to get through COVID-21, COVID-23, all the COVIDs that are going to be coming, right? I truly believe they're going to change every time, right? I don't know when this is going to end. But as we go through these things, you need to reach out and help people. You need to find a way to make a difference. You need to understand that we've got one shot. Maybe it's call somebody you haven't talked to in a while. Call a parent, call a friend, help somebody out at a bus stop, help somebody out at the grocery store. Give back to a foundation. We're in a world where everybody is just taking and taking and taking, and it's time to start giving back. It's time to start doing things because we have a why bigger than us. It's time to start being a part of elevating people and making a difference in life rather than trying to be self-induced and try to just grow ourselves. Because what will happen is what I mentioned earlier is that full circle. Things won't go good, you'll eventually break down, and that's how this happens. You have to find a way. You have to write yourself. You have to set those goals. I have a motto. I don't set anything past 180 days. I set a weekly goal, a monthly goal, a 3-month goal, and a 6-month goal. That's it. So when the CFO goes, what's the budget next year? I don't know. I'm not going to give that to you because I don't know, because I'll get discouraged if I don't hit it. But if I can focus and stay in the light right in front of me today, this week, this month, 3 months, and 6 months, it's never too big. Now I'm getting little wins, and those little wins make a difference. And you take those wins and you share them with other people. You allow them to get wins. You allow them to be elevated and make a difference. Now, I know I'm running out of time, right? But I will say this. 2022 is coming. The world is going to continue to be hard. We're all going to have these obstacles. You need to ask yourself, is it going to be day 1 that you make a difference in someone's life, or is it going to be one day? Is it going to be day 1 that you go out and make your own map, or is it going to be one day? Is it going to be day 1 that you want to go out and do everything you've wanted to do? Bet on yourself, or is it going to be one day? And I hope that you say it's day 1. That's all I've got. Bam!
Thank you, Jayson. That was awesome. Thank you, Jayson. That was amazing. Next, we're going to, by the way, every single person on this stage, I consider, like, I am inspired by every single person that is going to be speaking tonight. And just having this caliber of speakers, again, in one room is phenomenal. So I'm very grateful, Jayson. Thank you so much for sharing those words of wisdom. And next, we're going to have Heather Monahan. She is Boston Heels is the name of her company. And oh my gosh, so she is a dear friend. We've
it just goes to show you competition. We had this conversation with Mark earlier today. Collaboration versus competition is the way to go, and people that work together to make things better. And, 2 heads, 3 heads, 4 heads, like this whole team here that put this together are better than one. So we're going to introduce Heather. She's on her 2nd book called Overcome Your Villains, and she's going to share her amazing story as well and hopefully give a little inspiration. We're going to share her video. Come up on stage, Heather. Are you ready?
You know I'm back, like I never left. I never left. Another sprint, another step, another day, another breath, Been chasing dreams, but I never slept.
You can do all things. In life, you're going to be faced with adversity, whether it's being fired, being cheated on. I heard you guys talking about that. Or, there's so many things that can happen to you negative, and it's all about how you respond to it. So for me, this has been amazing. I decided to ask for help, which was a big deal for me. I was always one of those really proud people that I don't need anyone's help and I've got this. And I put it out on social media. I'm really struggling and this has been a hard experience and I need your help. And people just started showing up. So I've been in media for the past 20 years and I made it to the C-level. I was the chief revenue officer of a media company and I was fired August 1st. And I was blindsided after 14 years in advancement from VP of sales to EVP to chief revenue. It was mind-blowing for me. And that pivotal moment really gave me the opportunity to say, okay, do I want to go back to media and do what I've been doing for 20 years and jump right back in? Or do I want to take a moment and really evaluate what is my passion in life? Where do I want to go? And I decided lean into the fear, go for something new, and do this 100% of my time. And that's when I jumped in full-time to Boss and Heels. Boss and Heels is about being whoever you are, unique in your talents, your specifics, whether that means rocking heels that day or not, or being a man and, and bring your own flavor to the workplace, but just being your own unique self and being proud of that and using that superpower that you have to leverage yourself to advance in the workplace. The best advice I could provide is everything is temporary, no matter what it is. The number one thing you can control in any situation is your mindset view. We're not being held hostage anywhere, and we have our own choices and our own opportunity in any minute to change our situation. And I actually asked people, what is it that you see that's unique about me? And helping to define that unique value proposition about myself, which it was insightful to hear what other people see in you that you might not see, allowed me to take steps forward and really understand what was special. That's really validating. One of the most profound statements that I learned a few years ago is fear is a liar. It's not real. You create it in your own mind. And by taking small steps, they don't have to be the biggest step in the world, but little things, just taking a step, taking action will help you build that muscle to protect you against fear and start moving forward. There's a very fine line between fear and excitement. And when you lean into that fear and really push through it, that excitement resonates with you and you can really take that on, that new opportunity and new life that everybody, I think, is looking for. But one thing that you guys did for each other, you gave a compliment and you received it. Oftentimes people will say, oh, no, that's, oh, my mother gave me blue eyes, they're not beautiful. The act of receiving the compliment built your confidence. You felt good about giving it, and that's a really powerful.
Will you never leave, please? Adore you. Exactly.
Together, we can change the world with the confidence Heather has given us. I mean that.
We really can.
Glorious, glorious, I feel glorious, glorious.
Do you realize that Americans are more unhappy today than they have been in over 50 years? That means that 14% of people today claim to be happy. You don't look surprised. No, there is a global pandemic going on that we are all painfully aware of. And that's brought about loneliness, depression, anxiety, uncertainty. It's brought about hard times. I'm like that 86% of the population going through hard times, probably just like you. And maybe just like you, when those hard times come, I go to Disney movies. Anybody else with me? All right, that's my girl. All right, I see you. Okay, so I go to Disney movies, and here's why.
Those movies always have that hero that's facing massive adversity, but is willing to grow and move through those challenges, confront that ultimate villain, and then overtake them in the end. One of those Disney movies I love is The Lion King. Anyone else a Lion King fan out there? All right, I hear you. Okay, so if you don't know The Lion King, it's a beautiful story about a young lion named Simba. And Simba's father is tragically killed. And through manipulation by an evil villain, Scar, Simba begins internalizing this tragedy and thinking he's responsible. He runs off to live alone. What he doesn't know is that he's just removed the villain from his life. And now he finds people, or animals, or whatever those things were, that support him and encourage him and cheer him on, and he gains strength. And he grows, and he begins to understand maybe he is not responsible. Maybe his thinking and belief, maybe that villain that he's facing is that villain within. And as he becomes stronger, he takes on that ultimate villain, Scar, takes him down, and reigns that community as a king. I love the Disney movies because I love to see the hero's journey. And I love being here today with you to talk about that future and that future hero in each of you. Now, for any of us that have been in corporate America before, show of hands, you know that not all villains look like Scar. Sadly, some of them aren't donning a mask, they're donning a briefcase and a smile. It's much more challenging in the world that we live in to identify those villains and then ultimately overcome them. But it is not impossible, and it is the game changer in becoming the hero of your story. I personally have a little bit of experience with this. About 20 years ago, I met my number one villain, but I didn't know it at the time. She didn't look like Scar. She wore Prada and had perfect bags and hair and always smiled at me. Behind the scenes, she would make remarks about me. She would put me down, not respond to emails, and treat me in a very passive-aggressive manner. Anyone ever met a person like that before? Of course you have. Those are the sneaky villains, the ones that are really eroding away, chipping away at your confidence and your self-worth. And over time, that was happening to me. And in corporate America, I'd show up and give a great presentation, and I'd leave and see her looking at me, and I'd doubt myself. I'd question, am I good enough? I don't have the Prada shoes or the right bag. Maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Maybe I'm an imposter. And slowly over time, I became a B-rate version of myself. I started believing if I dial my light down, maybe hers will brighten. But here's the truth that I want everyone to know. You dimming your light will never make this world a brighter place. And we are all here to do good in this world, and this world needs your light. We need you to turn up your light and make this world a brighter place. We need that now. So I eventually decided to become intentional and start dialing up my light, even though I was scared to death. I took many steps and thought and worked very hard at it. And I got myself to a place, so I started feeling confident about who I was. And that's when I got the call from my villain. She'd been my peer for 14 years, and suddenly, she was my boss. She called me to her office. I arrived not knowing what was gonna happen, and she was all smiles, and this woman never smiled at me. She passed 2 papers in front of me and said, sign one of them. One said, Heather Monahan has been fired. The other one said, Heather Monahan, amazing employee who's done such a phenomenal job, is moving on to pursue her own dreams, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't my first rodeo. I knew what was about to go down. If I wanted the beautiful memo to go out to the company, I'd get a nice big paycheck. And as a single parent, I wanted that big paycheck. But I'd also have to sign a gag order. I'd be allowing someone to put their power over me. I'd be a B-rate version of myself. And in that moment, I pushed both of those papers back to that woman. I said, I did not write either one of these. I will not sign either one. And if you have nothing else to say to me, I'm out of here. I walked out of that office for the last time after 14 years, got to my car and started crying, but I felt so proud of me. In that moment, that woman thought she had fired me. I had just fired my number one villain from my life. And when you fire your number one villain, you set yourself up to take off. I didn't know that at the time. I only knew that I had just given up a really big paycheck and I had no idea where the next one was coming from. The struggle was real. I went under the weighted blanket. I grabbed the bottle of Chardonnay, not the glass. And then I thought, no one's calling. No one was calling me. No one was trying to help me. So I did something a little radical. I posted on social media, I have just been fired. And if I have ever done anything to help you in the last 20 years, I need to hear from you now. Well, my phone started ringing. It was my friends and my family saying, take that post down. You look pathetic. No one will ever hire you, Heather, if they know that you have been fired. And I checked in with the one voice and opinion that matters, my own. And I didn't feel pathetic. I didn't steal from that company. I didn't do anything wrong. This villain didn't like me. I'm leaving the post up. That post went viral. And it landed me on the Elvis Duran show. And halfway through that interview, Elvis says to me, well, Heather, obviously you're writing a book. But I wasn't. I don't know about you, but I grew up with a smart one sister. I was the social one. Anyone else have a sister or sibling that was real smart? Yeah, that was great. I didn't think I could write a book, but in that moment, this man who was light years ahead of me spoke a truth and a belief and a conviction into me. Never underestimate the power your words have on another person. He changed my life and the trajectory of my business in that moment. I jumped on a plane and I Googled, how do you write a book? And it said, you just have to write. I'd just been fired. I had some free time. I went home, I started writing, and I finally got the book done. And 2 weeks before the book was gonna go live, I decided I should probably share this with my family. I sent the digital copy of the book to my entire family, and I waited, and crickets. I don't know about you, but I hate crickets. So I started calling, and I called my dad, and he said, your mom's not speaking to you. She thinks the book is about her. It's a disgrace. She doesn't want you to launch it. I said, Dad, it's a compilation of my lowest moments in my life and how I leverage them to create confidence and how the reader can too. How's that about Mom? He said, I'm not sure. We're going to work on it over here. So then I called the smart one, my sister. She's an attorney. She answered, yeah, funny, you already know where this is going. She answers the phone and says, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but as your attorney, I'm gonna have to advise you to kibosh the book. But why? Every person you call out in that book is gonna sue you. And frankly, it reminds me of a knockoff of Jen Sincero's book, You Are a Badass. Shut this project down. I hung up the phone, I went back under the weighted blanket. I may or may not have grabbed some more Chardonnay. But then I did something really smart. I called my editor. He got on the phone with me. I told him what happened. And he said, let me ask you a question. How many books has your family written? I said, none. He said, how many books have I written? 19. He said, do you see where I'm going with this? He taught me a powerful lesson that day I will never forget. Never take direction from someone who hasn't been where you are going. Then he asked me one more question. He said, why did you write this book? Well, I wrote this book for a younger me. I wrote this book for a person who doesn't have confidence and doesn't know how to create it. He said, has that changed? No, that didn't change. He said, then I advise you write this book. and we were back on track. I launched that book, and the first week it came out, it trumped Donald Trump for #1 on the business biography list on Amazon. And yes, I have that screenshot. But I didn't know that was gonna happen. I had no idea. Remember, I was the social one taking a risk to write a book, and I just didn't know if even one person would read it. But I remember lowering the expectations on myself and saying, if one person does read it, if this helps one person, then this was worth it. It ended up being read by a lot more people. And it just ended up on the Forbes top 5 books for 2021 for any woman in business. And guess what? It was ranked #3. Guess who was ranked #4? Jen Sincero, you are a badass. There are signs that are coming to us from the universe, from God, from somewhere, but it just told me, stay on your path. Don't doubt yourself. And the reason I've been able to do that is because I fired that villain from my life. My entire life changed the moment that woman thought she fired me, when I had actually fired my #1 villain. I'm not here today for my story. I'm here today for you to recognize the potential to find that hero within you, because you are the hero of your own story. The future that I see for you once you embrace this and overcome the villains surrounding you is one of limitless potential, opportunity, creativity, and anything that you want to make it. Overcome your villains. It's the one thing standing between you, who you are today, and that hero that you are destined to be. Thank you.
Awesome, Heather. Thank you, Heather. That was amazing. And by the way, 3 of Heather's books are part of our raffle. Thank you. So next we have Mark Noodleberg. So excited to have Mark. He's done so much for cystic fibrosis and tomorrow's leaders, and we're so grateful to have him. You are in for a treat. I mean, every single speaker is a treat tonight. So Mark, please come up on the stage. We're going to play Mark's, there we go.
Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business. Mama, please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get it.
How's everybody doing? Oh, no. We're gonna get interactive now, okay? We've been sitting, we've been listening. How's everybody doing? That's what I'm talking about. So I'm Mark Noodleberg, I'm the president of On the Ball Ventures. I have to give a shout out to my dad and my brother, and Shay, who made that video, who's part of our team in the crowd. We have a coaching agency that works with organizations to help them develop their people and their processes and get them 1% better a day. That song is the theme song to our daily huddle that we do every single day live on LinkedIn. So we go live, we have a community of people that are focused on setting the intention for the day and getting their mind right and finding 1% that they can do to get a little bit better. I'm gonna do a little exercise here to kind of pull my story all together for you really simply, okay? I'm gonna give an acronym. I'm gonna see if anybody can answer it based on the context that I'm giving it. So is there any football fans in the crowd? Does anybody know what an RPO is in football? Anybody? Go ahead. A run pass option, thank you. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that's a play that an offense can call that gives them the option to either run the ball or throw the ball based on what the defense does. Gives them the best opportunity to be successful on that play. Does anybody know what an RPO is in sales? Crickets? Nobody? It's a revenue producing opportunity. And we believe that the #1 way to diagnose the health of a business is to look at its pipeline. Pipeline is built on salespeople spending time, the majority of their time, on revenue-producing opportunities. Okay? I have one more for you that's an acronym that I think is at the foundation of everything good that's ever happened to me in my life. And that's RPDs. Does anybody want to give it a shot at what an RPD is? No, it has nothing to do with revenue. Relationships, process, and discipline. Everything good that's happened to me, whether it be a coaching job that I had at a Division I college, whether it be a business opportunity, whether it be somebody positive who came into my life that helped me get better, came from a relationship. It's hands down the most important factor to your success in life are the relationships that you build. So you have to spend time building them, nourishing them, and then making sure that you give them time to become fruitful. It's like a tree. You plant the seeds, you water it, you take care of it. You don't know when it's gonna give you fruit, but I promise you it'll give you fruit at some time. The P is process. I learned early on in football that all of our success was gonna come from a process. It was gonna come from how we worked out. It was gonna come from how we practiced. It was gonna come from how we went about our daily business every single day. And the keys to developing a process are keeping them simple and making them repeatable. Because you can't think about it. If you gotta get up and think about your process, you're already losing. So it can't be complicated. And it's got to be repeatable because there's gonna be days that you don't feel like doing it. There's gonna be days where there's obstacles in your way. I think we've heard everybody talk about all the kinds of obstacles that could get thrown in your way. Adversity is going to strike. And when it happens, you gotta be able to do it no matter what the circumstances are. So it's got to be simple and repeatable. And then the last one, which is so important to the process, is the discipline. And discipline to me is defined as the relentless commitment to that process, whatever it is. Whether it's getting up early, drinking something green, going to the gym, reading the Bible, whatever it is that's part of your process to get you moving in the right direction, whether it's a business development process, whether it's how you go about doing your business every day, whatever it is, it's that relentless commitment to the process because that's what creates sustained success. Anybody can be an overnight success. Find success one time. The people who have done it over and over and over got there because they were consistent, day after day after day, getting to their process. So if you don't take anything else away from me today, RPDs, find a way to apply it to your life, apply it to your day, apply it to your business, apply it to you somehow, and I promise you it'll help you be successful. Now, I'm not here to talk about acronyms or football or RPDs. I'm here to talk about the future of sales. And that's really easy to talk about because sales is dead. That's simple. I'm done. Kidding. But what do I mean when I say sales are dead? The old school philosophy of always be closing, of hit the phones, the interrupt mentality and tactic is done. It died a long time ago. Maybe not everybody's recognized it yet, but it's dead. But how did we get there? Why were those tactics developed? Well, they were developed because it fit the world that they were made for. They were developed 50 years ago when the phone was the cool new thing. They were developed when all you could do to get someone's attention was pick up the phone, send them an email, or walk into their office. Now, I don't know about you, but I haven't answered a cold email anytime recently. Have you? How about a cold call? You picking those up every time they call? How about somebody walking into your office and saying, I need to meet with you right now? How many times have you taken that meeting? Not happening, right? So we can agree that we live in a different world now. Do we agree? 1,000%? Environment's different, people are different, the way we operate is different. You know what's not different? What we train our salespeople to do, how we train them and develop them, and then the tactics we ask them to use. So we're living in a different world, yet nothing that we train them to do has changed. So we have a problem. We have a disconnect. So what do? We recognize that there's a new world. We recognize that there's new ways, and we develop a new strategy. How do you do that? Game planning is fun in football, right? You assess the opponent, you figure out what they do well, and then you figure out what you have to do in order to be successful against them. Well, the opponent is the atmosphere, is the world. You've got to figure out how to develop relationships in that world. What's the keys to success in developing a sales strategy that works today and tomorrow? 2 pillars: information and technology. Information is the commodity. Technology is the tool. We live in a world now where how you give information, how you get information, the flow of information, the access to information, the availability of information is all different than it's ever been in our entire lives. So it's on us as leaders in the room, as individuals, to develop a strategy that leverages information to create personalization. Now, I want to be clear on that, because there are a lot of people who will talk about sales in today's world that believe in automation. I believe that automation belongs to marketing and personalization belongs to sales. So if we can agree that we have to develop a strategy that incorporates information to create personalization, then it becomes about, well, how do we go about leveraging that information now? What do we do with it now that we have it? Now you get to the tools. What are the tools of today that allow you to show up differently, get people's attention, develop relationships, and uncover opportunity? The biggest one is easy. It's social media. The problem is when you look at how most salespeople and sales organizations are leveraging that tool, they're taking the old school philosophy and applying it to the new tools. It doesn't work. You have to come up with a new philosophy. You have to come up with a new strategy that allows you to connect with people on a personal level, one-to-one, me to you. Not about our business, but why I'm important to being in your life. Why you and I should know each other, regardless of whether or not we do business together. If you can use that tool, you can learn how to use that in an outbound scenario, then you can also learn how to use that in an inbound scenario. You can learn how to build personal brand. You can learn how to leverage your life and your experiences and everything that goes in it in a way that turns the funnel upside down. And you have direct messages coming to you with people who want to do business with you because you're also a Jet fan, or because you also have a dog, or because they just like the way you do your business and they would like to do it with you. So if you can leverage social media that way, then you can look to the next tool, which is video. Video has revolutionized the way we communicate. Using video to show up to someone in a different way that humanizes the touch, asking for nothing other than 15 minutes and a virtual coffee, will revolutionize the way you build your pipeline, guaranteed. And we have a testimonial here, it happens to be. So, we have people that have worked with us that are here that they know this works, okay? But when you show up that way, and then you figure out how to leverage Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever other video software it is that you use to have that virtual coffee, now you've figured out a way to efficiently and effectively develop relationships in order to uncover opportunity. You're not selling anything. All you're doing is connecting and developing at scale as a human. Okay? So now, if you've stuck with me and you're, all right, I got some social media, I got some video, and you start to figure out how to use Zoom in order to have virtual coffees, then you can start using video throughout the follow-up process. You can start using it instead of having to have meetings for everything. You can start using it to send over an agreement. You can start using it to follow up and check in with somebody. You can start using it as a product demo. You can start using it in all kinds of ways to reduce the friction for the buyer. and make decision-making easy. So now, back to the P, process. How do you build a repeatable process with that information and those tools? It's very simple, 3 steps. Everybody can remember 3 things. Research, contact, follow-up. In my research, how am I leveraging the information I'm finding out about what they like, who they are, and where the best place to get them is in order to contact? Once I figure out how to contact them, how am I using the new tools of today to contact? How am I using video? How am I using social media? How am I connecting with them in their content? And then follow up, stay with it, because 90% of people don't follow up. It's that simple. And so once you have your repeatable process, what does a sales professional look like in this future state of sales, which is today, by the way? They're connectors, they're educators, and they're influencers. Not an influencer like Heather. She's a big-time influencer. I don't need all my salespeople to be Heather. I need my salespeople to be centers of influence or trusted points, trusted centers of information within their own network. How do you build trust with everybody within your network? You build personal brand. You start sharing your story day in, day out. You start sharing who you are, what you're about, what you do, why you do it every single day. You become the trusted center of information of your network. You'll change the way you do business. And that's what your team of people should be doing. So, very simply, can they connect? Can they educate? Can they be influencers? And then us as leaders, can we develop the training and the environment to promote that behavior? Can we change our own behavior? Can we stop telling people to hammer the phones? Can we start looking at other metrics that define people's success in sales? It's our responsibilities as leaders to make sure that we're setting them up for success and creating that future of sales, which I believe the future of sales is a highly personalized digital experience that leverages human connection that creates lasting relationships, period. You wanna know what the future of sales looks like? That's what it looks like. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was awesome. By the way, Mark, as he mentioned, he has a daily huddle with Steve, his dad, and his brother, and I would just recommend it. I listened to it on the way to drop off my son to school in the morning, and we love it. And they started it around when COVID hit, and it was so refreshing and motivational. And I also listened to Jayson's podcast, True Underdog, so I would encourage everybody to download the podcast. And Heather has a podcast as well, so Confidence Creator. So next we're going to hear from Lori Celerullo. Lori is amazing, okay? So I'm so excited to have her share her story. She is the CEO of Junior Achievement. In South Florida, and she touches so many people's lives and so many children's lives. So it's so incredible to have her here. I'm so grateful that she's going to be speaking tonight, sharing her personal story. And Lori, come up on stage.
Thank you. It is so good to be here. So Cindy asked, what did I want to speak about tonight? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, I am in the process of writing a book. I'm not as far down the road as Heather and Jayson. The name of my book is The C Word. No, not that one. Yeah. I see where all of your minds went. I see, especially Mark there with that smile. So we all have a personal story, right? But just for a second, I want to stop and just tell you just who I am. Number one, I'm a mom, first and foremost. That is my most important responsibility and job and honor. I'm also the CEO, as Cindy mentioned, of Junior Achievement in South Florida. I get the pleasure of helping 55,000 students prepare for the future, talking about future leaders. I am an advocate. I am a friend. I am a daughter. I am a leader, right, of all of these people and influencing them and their futures. So that's just a little bit about me. And so a little bit about the book and how this came about. So as you can imagine, right, that C word, I was married for 12 years, and that was my ex-husband's favorite word. Yeah, that was true. You know, I came from New York, and so I'm not you could tell, a weak little thing. I'm a pretty strong, independent woman. But you get called that word enough times, right? And sooner or later, it is going to affect your confidence. It's going to affect your self-esteem, and it's going to change who you are, unfortunately. And when you have children, you know, it's a little bit scary to walk away from something that you know, even though it might not be a good thing. And so I wanted to take that story, and the first chapter of my book is called From That Word to CEO, and how I got here. And so the book talks about 10 words. There are so many other C words on my list, so that'll be the sequel, will be the next 10. But the first 10 are the most important. But tonight, I don't have time to talk about all 10, but I want to touch on 4 of those. The first one, because without it, none of this would have ever happened for me, and it won't happen for most of us, right? Because we've all been through something. Heather talked about her story. Jayson talked about his. We've all gone through something. Do I have the courage? Do I have the courage to walk away? Do I have the courage to know that I might find love? I might find someone who respects and treats me like I deserve to be treated? Do I have the courage to start over? All those questions go through your mind. And until I was ready to muster up the courage and take that step and walk away, none of this would have ever happened. Right? And so how did I muster it up? Oh, there's lots of other things. And some of them are in the book. My crew, right? My support system. If it wasn't for them, I'm not sure I would have had the courage. But I knew I had that support system and that cushion to fall back on. I had people who would not let me fail or fall into the street and be on my own. And believe me, my ex-husband tried. He told me, I'll leave you penniless in the streets. And you know what? But I knew people were there for me. And so I had to muster the courage. I had to know that I could stand on my own. I had had a career before, but I had stayed home for a long time and raised my children. And so I had to make sure that I could take that step. So I think without courage, right, nothing else can happen until we're ready to make that decision and take those little steps, as somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Heather, right? We have to take those little steps to build our self-esteem and get ready to take that step. The next thing, so I finally mustered up the courage to take the step and to walk away. I knew it wasn't going to be easy because, as you can imagine, when you're in I'll call it, for lack of a better word, an abusive, unhealthy, negative relationship, it only gets worse when you walk away from people like that, right? So I knew it was going to be a tough road. And so I think the next C for me that's most important in the book is clarity. I needed to be really clear about what it was I wanted. What was I walking away from and what was I walking toward, right? I needed to be really clear about that part that I was walking toward. I wanted peace, right? I knew that that was what I wanted. I wanted to be able to have peace in my life, have people around me that were positive, who were there to build me up, right? And have those great relationships around me. And I needed to get very clear about what my goal was ultimately. And so I wrote. I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of talking with friends, right? They were there always. And like I said, that C word, the crew, they are in the book, throughout the book. And so I tell everyone, our young people, I just had a conversation with someone because, you know, the C words in this book don't only apply to when you're going through a personal situation. They also apply to building yourself as a leader, right? It also is how you can help build your company, right? Would you go into a company, right? You're an entrepreneur, Jeremy. You're an entrepreneur, Mark, right? Did it take courage? Didn't it take clarity to know where you were going and what your business was all about, right? So having that courage to take the first step and then being very clear about what you want and where you're going. And so I wrote a lot of things. I even wrote about what I wanted in the next person I would be have in my life. I had a list of the 10 most important things that the man that came into my life would have. I had never done that before in my life, which is obvious because I ended up in a really bad situation, right? So if I had that clarity before, and I knew that that person did not meet the goals and the things and the characteristics that I wanted in someone, maybe I would have made a different decision, right? So have the courage to make the decision, take the step, have clarity around what you want and where you're going, and write it down. The third thing is commitment. I know a couple of people have mentioned that earlier. How am I getting there? And am I committed to doing the work? Am I disciplined enough, right, to get to that goal that I want to get to? Because it's going to take a lot of commitment. I knew that in order to get peace, I was going to go through a long, holy hell. And I did. It meant no food on the table sometimes. It meant being evicted. It meant having cars repossessed. Yeah, it only got worse before it got better. So I needed to know that I was really committed because, by the way, this was my third try at getting a divorce. So on the third time, I was so committed and so clear about what I wanted. And I wrote down, these are the things I need to do to get where I have to go, to that peace. That was my North Star. All right. And so those are the three first things: courage, clarity about where you're going, that commitment to have the discipline to take the steps. And then I'm going to talk about the last one. And that is somewhat of what Heather wrote about, and that's confidence. And people have said to me, well, but if you don't have the confidence, you can't do this, and you can't do all those steps you talked about. But the confidence for me came from all those little steps. When I had the courage to walk away, that was the first step. Well, guess what? My confidence got a boost because now I was clear. I was going to make it. So being able to make that step and walk away and have the courage to do that alone built confidence in me, right? And so I think that's the fourth C in my book. And then, like I said, there are several others. But I had the privilege the other day of one of our team members came to me and she said, I think I'm going to resign. And I said, okay, well, if that's what's going to make you happy, as your leader, I want to see you happy and move on. And I said, well, but what's going on? Because we just had a conversation on Monday and everything was great. And, well, I don't feel like I'm growing. So I listened. I let her share with me why she felt like she had to leave and she didn't feel like she was growing. And I said, well, okay, do you want some advice? Were you just venting? Do you want me to coach you? What do you want from this conversation? Because I've learned that it's always better to ask somebody what they want. Because sometimes maybe they just want to vent and they really don't want a solution, right? Like our kids sometimes, they don't want the solutions, right? And so I said to her, what would you like? And she said, no, I want you to tell me what you think. And I said, I could list 10 opportunities that we've given you to grow. And you haven't taken one. And I said, so I'm going to share my top 3 C's with you. You need to have the courage. If you want to grow, you got to have courage. Okay? And then you need to be clear about what you want. You want to be a controller, but you don't want to show up to the finance committee meetings. And you hate managing people. What? I don't know if they go together. Are you really clear about what you want? And so I said, and then the third thing is, once you're clear about what you want, are you going to make the commitment, right? Are you going to take those steps to get back past the fear? She looked at me and she said, wow, you hit the nail on the head. I have been afraid to take some steps. I have been afraid to do some of the things that you've given me the opportunity to do. And you know what? You're right. I think I want to be a controller, but I really don't like managing people. So maybe that isn't the right job. So often we want something, and then when we get there, we go, oh, wait a minute. That's not who I am. That's not what I like. That's not who I want to be. So we need to be really clear about who we are and what we want. And then the third thing, as I said to her, is, are you committed? And I said, I want you to go home and I want you to think this weekend. I'm not going to take your resignation. want you to go home and I want you to think about these 3 things. And she called me on Monday and she said, I'm not resigning. And I said, well, great. I'm glad to hear that. And she said, and I've started journaling. Will you keep coaching me? Because this was great. And I thought, okay, this is a good thing, right? I'm writing a book. I was hoping that that's what it would do. Could I help people get from that C word to CEO or whatever else it was they wanted to be? That's my hope for my message. That's my hope for sharing my story and the C words that were important to me. And so I leave you with that. I hope that you'll buy it when it comes out. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Lori. So we are moving on to Ron Saunders. Again, I just want to reiterate, Ron is honestly the reason for this evening. It's the reason I'm involved with cystic fibrosis. He invited me to be involved with it, and now I'm on the board as well. And his cousin, as I mentioned, has CF. We're a little behind in the program, so we can't play the video right now. But I wanted you to share her story, and then obviously the future of clean air. Ron is another, every single one of these speakers is a mentor to me, and every single one of them inspires me on a regular basis. And Ron, I met him about 15 years ago, and then we went on a business cruise together with his girlfriend about 10 years ago, and we had a great time, and we've been fast friends ever since. So he's doing amazing things with fresh air UV and indoor air quality, and I'd love to invite him up. We're going to share a little video. His company was on Good Morning America recently. And just like many of the entrepreneurs in this room, interestingly enough, since COVID, their businesses have like doubled and tripled and quadrupled. So yeah, so this was on GMA about 6 or 7 months ago. And so it's going to give you a little background on Ron's company, and then I'll come up and speak.
Issue as we emerge from this pandemic, and yes, we begin to ease off mask mandates. Air ventilation quality has been a growing conversation among health officials, especially when it comes to our school systems.
So today we are diving deeper into this topic with Dr. Ashton here. What do you got for us?
Yeah, we're going to geek out on this aerosol science. We're taking a look at a school in North Carolina that recently upgraded their ventilation system, as many places are doing. They did this in the hopes of keeping their students outside the doctor's office and inside the classroom. Take a look.
Marlo Wilson Alston was a new mom when tragedy struck at the end of 2019. 3 days before her wedding anniversary, traveling home to visit family for the holidays, her husband passed away. 3 months later, COVID hit, leaving Marlo worried about the safety of her young baby.
I had so many fears about my son going to daycare. We were in a very precarious situation. My husband had died unexpectedly. It threw me into the guts of single motherhood. The pandemic came. I didn't have a whole lot of family around. I didn't have a lot of friends who can help watch my little boy.
So Marlo called husband and wife Bill and Ya McConnell, the owners of the Primrose School of South Charlotte, where Marlo's son attends preschool.
Our first and foremost priority was making sure that the children and staff at our school, we were taking their health and healthcare needs most seriously, making sure that we were keeping them safe whilst we cared for them.
When COVID happened, I had a conversation with my father who brought up the fact that he was looking into a UVC system for his house. And I wondered if it would be something that we could utilize at our preschool.
Bill went online and discovered these ultraviolet filtration systems, the same kind commonly used in airplanes, could also be used in their school.
Ultraviolet has been proven to be exceptionally effective at complementing filtration, designed to disinfect and treat the air, as well as, even maybe more importantly, the HVAC equipment itself. So filters are obviously designed to address particulates, but the UV disinfection technology is able to address those biologicals, those odors, those VOCs that pass through a filter like sand through a tennis racket. It's designed to complement filtration.
And better air filtration was an easy way to improve the health and safety of preschoolers, still too young to understand rules.
The first and foremost concern was We have young children who cannot necessarily social distance, cannot necessarily wear masks, but we knew that we had to step up the health and safety protocols that we already had in place so that our focus would be on providing care and education.
What COVID-19 has done is really opened our eyes and really brought awareness to indoor air quality. If there is such thing as a silver lining, is that it made us more aware that we should be more proactive. We should be doing more to improve the air that we breathe.
This system felt like an opportunity to help our families that need our care and provide them a place to bring their children and be able to depend on us.
For Marlo, that truly is a breath of fresh air.
Knowing that my little boy is in an environment where he is safe, he's healthy, where he doesn't have to worry about what's happening around him, it makes me incredibly comfortable. I don't know that he actually understands what's happening, but guess what? The little guy is happy. He loves the environment that he's in, and he has no clue the enhancements that were put in place just to protect him and all his little friends.
You guys, I really feel like these kind of advances may be one of the silver linings of this pandemic. You know, the research and development and things, this sounds like a good idea, even regardless of COVID, right?
Yeah, no, it makes sense just to prevent all sorts of potential illnesses.
Yep.
Now, in terms of COVID-19, we know that it's transmitted by inhaling it, inhalation,
Right.
but it's been controversial as
Yeah.
to whether or not COVID-19 is technically airborne.
Right.
Where does it
From the
stand?
beginning, there was a lot of fixation on the terminology. Is it by droplets or is it airborne? And by the way, airborne sounds really scary. Tuberculosis, measles. There are plenty of infectious diseases that are airborne. What it comes down to is the size of the particle, how far it travels, the distance, and how the hang time, to use a football term that I know you're both familiar with, how long those particles linger in the air. Smaller particles, those fine particles, that's when people say, oh, this is airborne. They can travel farther, they can linger longer, and potentially they can really lodge in our passageways and make us sicker. So let's not focus so much on the terminology, but there's general consensus now that yes, it's both droplet and airborne.
So how important can these things be, these ventilation systems? We're going to be spending more time indoors.
That's right. So remember, the weather in this country and other parts of the world is not always suitable just to do everything outdoors. So there is intense research and development, a lot of it going on behind the scenes, you know, at schools, at workplaces, for travel, in doing better, upgrading their filtration systems and killing as many microbes or organisms that can be traveled in the air as possible. And this is a perfect example of that.
All right. And
Thank you. I want to thank Cindy so much. This is one event that she puts on, and it's incredible how many great people she brings to one place. So, Cindy, stand up. She's actually not human. She doesn't sleep. I've never seen her eat, but she does an incredible job, so thank you. And can I have the Tomorrow's Leaders peoples come up? Alex, I see you back there. Hunter, just come up real quick. And Mark, I'll find you in a little bit. You scooted away. But, you know, as far as networking and getting younger people involved, I think that's what's so important about any charity. And Colette, get up here. She's the reason why we're all involved. And it does take a family. Cindy, come on up. I incorporated Cindy into a board of advisors for a charity event we did, and she's been so helpful all these years. But Tomorrow's Leaders, thank you so much. Colette, thank you for gathering these people together to help cystic fibrosis and help us find a cure, which cystic fibrosis is going to be stand for, CF is going to stand for Cure Found. So, and thank you, Cindy, for everything you do. So, all right, get out of here. All right. Thank you. They're my showpieces. I'm glad I didn't have to follow all those great speakers. Like, oh, I'm going to die on a vine. Sean, my new friend right back there, he's a public speaker, and he said, hey, can I get your card, you know, because I'd like to learn more about public speaking. I'm like, well, I kind of wing it, and there's some really good ones over here. So, but I will tell my story about my cousin, Jennifer. Jennifer was one of those CF kids that was born. Parents didn't know why she was coughing so much, having trouble breathing, and really wasn't eating very well because it affects their digestive system. So she was very small. She was like that little runt in the pack. And but what happened was they got news that she had CF, and there was no cure. So live a wonderful 5 years of life and just enjoy every time you have with her because it's not going to last. And then they started to say, no, I don't want to believe that's true for my daughter. So what they did is they started to work locally to engage friends and family and also doctors and nurses in the area to help them find a cure for CF. So they became very involved in the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which somebody down here in Palm Beach County actually was very involved early on, a lady named Mary Weiss. Mary had 3 kids, 60 years ago? Mary passed away a few years ago, but when you have trouble saying cystic fibrosis, know that when her little 3-year-old said, Mommy, there's somebody on the phone. They want to talk about 65 roses again. So 65 roses has actually become an international term for cystic fibrosis fundraisers. So very cool that we have that here from Palm Beach County. And one of her sons is still doing fairly well. The other 2 passed away. But my cousin Jennifer's parents, my aunt and uncle, were the same way. They didn't want to believe that this was it for their daughter. So my cousin Jennifer is now 42 years old, and she's on Trikafta, and she's doing incredible. But what we can't forget about all these CF people is, somebody mentioned earlier, 90% of people are doing well. My cousin actually just had a little struggle recently, so she's back in the hospital, getting what they call a tune-up. So you don't want to tune up in cystic fibrosis with your lungs. It's not good. Lung replacement is very popular among CF people to extend their life further. So, people that struggle with CF, their lives are very different than our lives. They spend a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours at night, just getting their chest pounded. My dad saw my cousin in the hospital, and this lady was pounding on the back of her back because they were trying to loosen up her lungs so that she would have better lung function. So, but know that 90% are getting help, but 10% are still remaining. So we're not stopping the fundraising. So we're continuing to ramp up. But I want to thank people that don't have a CF connection, that want to be involved in CF. And CF is a wonderful group. But if you don't pick CF, pick a great charity, Be charitable. It makes you feel better. Look at all these awesome people that you're meeting tonight. These are people that care about charity. And networking is a part of it, and I love that part of it. I've met some amazing people through this charity. And I have not quite the C word situation like Lori does, but my ex, we were together 27 years. She's a wonderful person, but she said, charity begins at home. I'm like, ugh, that sucks. Because we're fine, But, like Jayson said earlier, sometimes you have to give up and provide others. And I think that's a wonderful trait of anyone charitable. So cheers to all of you for being here. My Fresh Air UV story, I'll make it quick. So we were a couple of knuckleheads, both engineers, that didn't want to work for some other guy or lady. But we had guys, and we hated them. So, but we were friends. And he said, I got an idea. They're making these products out of California and they're shipping them to Florida, and people in Florida just don't like them. It doesn't meet code. It won't work in air conditioning systems. They don't fit. And the contractors in air conditioning weren't having a lot of success putting them in. And the homeowners and customers weren't feeling the benefit of the product because they weren't applied correctly. So what we did is we started to develop a product. And like Jayson said earlier, and a couple of you guys have said earlier, we didn't have any money. So, we were broke, and for 5 years we didn't, we couldn't really afford our lifestyle. We tried to put credit card on once in a while for a fancy meal to make sure that our significant other was still on our team to make it happen. But there's a lot of times where you want to pull the plug. The company that just purchased us in March for a whole bunch of zeros and a whole bunch of commas, actually, offered my business partner $50,000 a year in year 3 to come work for him. He would give him 5 years at $50,000 a year to be his head of engineering. I wasn't included in the deal, but I knew that we were onto something great. So if we continue to push forward, we can have a wonderful company. And 20 years later, 150 employees and sales internationally was why we got the offer we did in the end. So, clean air. I think we've all realized what clean air is in the last 2 years, right? You all now understand what it's like to have cystic fibrosis. Every one of you. Or you have a family member that does. Because cystic fibrosis, people said that as soon as it happened. Oh, you need to stay away from people? Yeah, that's me. I can't stay around people either because I can't afford to get an infection. Oh, that's you too now? Oh, yeah. Now you get it. So, and then when you get sick, you're sick for 2 or 3 weeks and you can't see anybody. You're stuck in a hospital. You're getting a tune-up. Or for CF patients, they have to have their family members take 2 weeks off of work. So it's really hard for family members. So you all understand that now. And we all understand the value of clean air. We're all sipping bottled water. Who drinks bottled water? Yeah, everybody. Yeah, our grandparents would laugh hysterically at us. Why would you buy it? It's right there. You have a cup. It works great. But the fact is we all want clean air. We want clean water. We want cleaner, healthier environments. And, that's what is coming. This was, and I hate to use the reference because I don't mean it bad for the 911 people, but this was the state of the nation over the last 2 years is we need cleaner air. We get it now. We've had this bioterrorism created wherever you want to believe, and it's affected our community. It's affected everything about our lives. So we want clean air. And so how do we get it? Well, companies, not just like ours, they're coming up with all sorts of technologies to make sure that we will get clean air. You will all have access to clean air. There'll be more requirements on what products to provide in your homes and offices and hospitals. So these technologies have been used in hospitals for years. You guys haven't used them, but they're now very affordable. And education is the key. Mark Noodleberg said that earlier. He said, we're about educating people. That's what it is for us, educating people on that these products exist. Your air conditioning contractor may not tell you about them, but they exist. So clean air, we're going to start to be able to monitor our homes just like we have all of our little monitors all over our homes now, right? Everything plugs into everything. Everything connects to everything. You will have indoor air quality monitors. They'll say if your home is safe or unhealthy. So, but if you want clean air, go play outside, okay? The new generation is called the indoor generation. There's a really good video on YouTube, but sorry, Gen Xers in here. It's probably our kids that are doing it, and that's me. Yeah, there you go. But these Gen Ys and Gen Zs stay in all day and play video games. They're in their home more than 12 hours a day. And our homes are 5 times more unhealthy than outside air. So if you want clean air, go play outside. But I want to thank everybody so much for coming here tonight. It means so much. I know you love my shoes. I get it. Cystic fibrosis, love, hope, cure. These come in any charity. So if you don't pick cystic fibrosis and join us here at CF Foundation, pick a great charity that empowers you, whether you have a connection or not. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Ron's company obviously is making a huge impact in the world with helping people in hospitals and schools, preschools, and homes breathe cleaner air. So thank you so much. Next, we're going to hear from Steve Edwards. And Steve, actually, his company's making a huge impact in people's lives too. It's called Premier Virtual. Ironically, it was launched right before COVID. I think they had been working on it for over a year. It's a tech platform where you can, it's a job fair platform, tech job fair platform. So since COVID, they have had 3,000 job fairs on the platform. Over 3,000? Over 3,000 job fairs on the platform. They work with over 200 business development boards and career source, right? Workforce development boards across the United States, the Army. Steve is a veteran. Thank you for your service, Steve. So excited. Again, another person I consider a mentor. He's doing incredible things with his company. He bootstrapped the whole company himself. They're doing amazing things to help put people back to work all across the United States. So thank you, Steve. Come. Oh, we're going to play his video, and then Steve's going to take the stage.
Of recruiting. Back in the early 90s, you used to have to post your jobs in the newspaper. And then job boards came out. Monster came out, Career Builder came out. Every one of them changed the industry. What is that next step in the evolution of recruiting? That is Premier Virtual. Hi, my name is Steve Edwards. I'm the CEO of Premier Virtual and a veteran of the 82nd Airborne Division. I grew up in small town Wisconsin, and after high school, I went to the military. When I got out of the military, I moved down to South Florida for college, and I got into the recruiting and job fair industry. I put on in-person job fairs for almost 9 years. But in 2018, I saw a huge change. Candidates would rather apply online than wait in line. They'd rather look at their phone instead of waiting in line. And I said, virtual career fairs are the future. From there, we started running our virtual events. And we realized what we wanted wasn't out there. So we created Premier Virtual. We realized that this platform can have organizations that can run their own events from a national level or to a multi-company job fair. 2 weeks ago, we put on an event in Virginia that had over 15,000 job seekers participate in the event and 350 companies. And one of my team asked me, what would that have cost in the in-person world? And I said, it couldn't have happened in the in-person world. And guess what? The data is there. People are seeing in virtual events, they're getting a higher attendance rate, a higher show rate, a higher login rate. Companies are talking to more individuals now than they did previously. And all of that data is tracked for you. So you know who registers, who logs in, who doesn't log in. Virtual is efficient. You don't have to travel. Recruiters don't have to be out of the office all day. People do not have to travel to Vegas to be at a trade show, to be out of their office. They can now log in to their virtual. Our platform is easy and efficient to use. It doesn't matter if you have a degree in software engineering, you can use our platform. And that's the way that we develop this, so your end user can get in, go into that lobby, see the organizations that they want to talk to, be able to research that organization, chat, and do a video immediately. We are always looking to help you as an organization. If you're a private company, a school, a university, a school district, workforce development board, or any other organization that is looking to put on a virtual event, Premier Virtual is here for you, and we'd love to be able to show you how we can benefit your organization.
Wow, I don't even have to talk anymore. The interesting thing is what I love about technology is we made that video 2 months ago, and it's already outdated. So, when we talk about the future, and I talk about the future recruiting tonight, you got to look at the past. How many people in here have ever applied for a job? Okay? Back before 1996, a candidate would look in the newspaper. Those are still out there for some people here, if they don't know what a newspaper is. They would look at a newspaper and they would look in the job ads, and they would then have to put their resume and they'd fold it up nicely, put it in an envelope, and mail it out. Some people would actually go to a company and say, here's my resume. And they'd have to search through all the resumes. In 1996, who remembers the Super Bowl commercials that kind of changed the recruiting industry? Anybody? Monster.com. The chimpanzees all over the place. It was crazy. That kind of started the whole job fair or the job board craze is when Monster came out and then Career Builder came out. Everybody changed the mousetrap a little bit, and Monster at its prime was valued at $5.5 billion. It ended up selling a few years ago for $429 million. Now most people say $429 million is a lot of money. $5.5 billion. $429 million. But if you ask, a millennial or Gen Z, what's Monster.com? They're gonna tell you It's the energy drink. Monster did not keep up with times. Love Monster. I think they got some really good things out there. But unfortunately, somebody came out and changed the game. And that was Indeed. Indeed came out and did a pay-per-click model. ZipRecruiter came out and said, we are going to, you post on ours and it goes out to 100 job boards out there. They changed the industry, right? Indeed ended up getting sold for $1 billion. Glassdoor came out, right? And they were like the, posting jobs and doing all these other things. They sold for $1.2 billion. They changed the industry. And back with me, I put on job fairs. Early 2000s, I worked for a company and I traveled. I did door-to-door, outside, business-to-business sales. And my markets were New York, New Jersey, Florida, and Texas. I had great markets. This was single, pre-wife, pre-kids. I could, I lived out of a suitcase. I'd get into a market and they'd be like, hey, we need you to fly to the next market. And I did that. I'd never want to do that again, but I did that back then. But when I was doing this is I was going into these markets and our clients were T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, some pretty big names. And we would build a sales force for this organization and then I would travel to the next one, just continue to do sort of things. But what did I do during this is I did hiring, right? All I did was hire, train, and unfortunately fire. But I learned about a company up in the Northeast that did these job fairs that really nobody else was doing. There was only 2 companies in the entire country that were doing job fairs that were geared towards salespeople, and they were in the evening time. Because most job fairs are during the day for unemployed people, that they can come in and stand in long lines with their resume and say, I'm so excited to get a job. And they wait in line and they hand their resume and they say, hey, my name is Steve and I'm looking for a sales job. And they're like, sorry, we're looking for an accountant. I'm like, oh man, I just wasted 15 minutes. So then I go to the next one. I go to the next one. I go to the next one. Well, that's what the job fairs were. And this one was very efficient. It was in the evening. They brought candidates into a theater style room like this. And each company came up and said, here's who we are. Here's what we do. Here's what I'm hiring for. And here's why you should come work for us. So it made it efficient. And I love the model, but it wasn't being done here in South Florida. So the company that I'd worked for, they ended up shutting down the division I was in, and I didn't want to go to one of the other divisions. I didn't want to be on the road anymore. And I had just happened at the first FAU football game, their first home game at the new stadium. I saw this girl out in the stadium. I walk up and I go, oh my God, you look so familiar. She's like, yeah. I go, yeah, you look like my next ex-girlfriend. She's like, you're so funny. 10 years later, she's my wife. We have 2 wonderful kids together, but I didn't want to travel. And so I decided we were going to start a job fair company. So I went to my college roommate and I said, I got an idea. We're going to put on job fairs. He's like, you mean like the stuff at the college? I go, no. Get in the car. I'm going to go and I'm going to show you what these job fairs are, and then I'm going to tell you what we can do. So we went around and I showed him the job fairs over the next couple of weeks because South Florida is the most competitive market in the entire country with job fairs. Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, there would be 3 job fairs a day. And sometimes they'd be at the same hotel. And I was like, all right, we got to do it a different way. Well, got into that. I was doing for almost 9 years. 2018, the market was coming, right? People would rather apply online than wait in line. People didn't want to go to job fairs anymore. And so as the candidates stopped coming, companies want to stop paying. Now I got a wife and a baby, and I'm like, I got to do something. And one of my mentors at the time said, I just landed a new client. He does virtual reality. And I go, okay. Show me what he's talking about. And the guy pitches me. I instantly said, this is the future of recruiting. People are like, you're crazy. I went in, I didn't like the price. Long story short, the guy was just reselling somebody else's product. So I went directly to that URL, and then I started researching. And I found at that point, there was 3 competitors out there that were doing virtual job fairs, and nobody was really doing what I wanted to do. So I signed an agreement with a company, and I started doing virtual job fairs. And the organization that I was, with in New Jersey, that we had bought the license. I kind of forgot that, right? I bought the license agreement to run under that business under South Florida. He hated virtual. He said, it'll never work. Virtual will never work. And I'm like, it's gonna work. December of 2018, I'm driving down to Fort Lauderdale to a LinkedIn local event. And that event, it was something about, what's your impact gonna be next year? And I just said to myself, I'm done. No more in person. I'm going 100% virtual. Got to the event that night and I said, I'm going virtual. Most of the people at the LinkedIn local are recruiters. And they all laughed at me. And they said, it will never work. I said, it will work. Just trust me. I had faith. I talked to my wife. I talked to my business partner. I was like, we're going virtual. We may not make money for a year because we're not doing anything in person anymore. We're going to develop a software. And we're like, you're not software developers. I'm a sales guy. So we end up getting a software development company. We start building our platform. And this was in January of 2019. August of 2019, we start testing it. And what do I do that a lot of entrepreneurs do? I pivot and I say, yeah, I don't want to host job fairs anymore. I want to build this to license it so that organizations can come out and do their own events. We had to change a bunch of the stuff up. November, we start testing it again. January, I land my first client, January of 2020. Their first event was March of 2020. What happened in March of 2020? The world shut down. And everybody's like, what's gonna happen? Now, did I know what was gonna happen? No. Did my wife not like COVID? Yes, in the beginning it was, hey, if you're coming home, like, everything's off, you have to come inside, shower before, is before we kind of learned a little bit more. But what I did is we grew our team from 3 to now we have 25 on our team. We've done over 5,000 events as of now. Thank you. We've done events that, what's that? There was one here. Jayson Waller actually had his Solar Summit Expo was on our platform. So it was a hiring / getting new clients out there as well. But what we learned about virtual is, 5,000 events, over 50,000 organizations have participated in events. You guys saw in the video, it talked about Virginia with 350 companies. The state of Massachusetts just did a job fair that was powered on a platform. 1,696 companies in one job fair. That can't be done in person. There was over 1.3 million company booth views. And guess what? You can't track that on in person. Right? And the data's there. So when we talk about what's the future of recruiting, every single person in here has a phone on them, right? You can log into virtual events anywhere. Now, we all know, right, what's been happening over the last 6 months is all of these people from the Northeast want to come down here to the great state of Florida. Guess what? They can log into these virtual events. Career Source here in Palm Beach County, they're doing, weekly and monthly events, right? States are doing statewide events, right? Virtual is here to stay. And when you look at job boards and people say, Steve, what does a virtual job fair do? And I like to say this. Everybody close your eyes for a second. Think of, we're walking into a job fair and all you see is a bunch of tables. And you go in and you're like, you see a line and you're like, oh, I'm so excited. And you waste a lot of time. And then in the virtual world, that candidate is sitting on their desk. They're sitting in a chair. They're sitting in their car because they hate their job. And they go out to their car to get on a virtual event. They log in and they now see, oh my gosh, there's the industry and the location. I click on a button. And it takes me into a company logos and I see the logo. From there, I can see what a company does. I'm either interested or not interested in what the company does. From there, I can click on the jobs and say, wow, I like this. I can submit my resume. Oh, and on our platform, you could customize a resume based on that job if you wanted. But then I can research that company. I can look at their social media to see, do I like it? Because what are people looking for right now when they're looking at companies? It's not just about money. It's culture. It's a number one thing that people are looking for is the culture, right? And it may be a culture where you can work from home or not work from home, right? I was talking to a recruiter last night at an event and he goes, Steve, this is how I recruit now. I have a candidate and I know either they want to work 100% remote or they don't. So what I do then, and I look at companies and I find companies that either mandate vaxes, working remote, not working remote, and I can target them based on what either my candidate is or my company, right? Because some people, if they're mandating vax and they don't want to be vaccinated, guess what? They don't want to work at that company. or they're not gonna be able to work, right? And it's the same thing if they're making you come into the office every day and you don't wanna do that, right? I'm from small town Wisconsin. I love the way I was brought up, with my mother, and I lived on a lake. I had no air conditioning coming in, right? This is small town Wisconsin I'm from. I don't wanna live in Wisconsin anymore. I love it. I wanna raise my kids the Midwest value that my wife is from the Midwest as well, but I don't wanna live there. The other day was -10. -10. I go, Mom, it's 78 here. It's an 88-degree difference. Aren't you excited to be here in 2 weeks? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that doesn't sound very exciting, But people can live, if they wanted to live in Wisconsin, you could live in Wisconsin and work in Florida. You can have everything. That's why all these people, right, California, they're moving to Texas, they're moving to Oklahoma, New York, New Jersey, are moving down here. Recruiting has changed so much because recruiters who are going after organizations have to it opens the world up for everything. Virtual opens the world for everything. We do international events. You can do anything. So if you're thinking about recruiting, the number one thing is, right, the candidates, the culture, right? Culture is the most important. Have fun at the office, right? Like, I just opened a new office in Delray, and the first thing I did is I ripped out the conference room and I put a beautiful gym in there. So now my team comes in, they wanna work out, they can go work out. I put a shower in there for them, right? Culture, having fun, right? That is what people have. So recruiting is all about what are you recruiting for, right? It's the culture, right? To make sure that there's a fit. So go out there as you're recruiting, right? Get with firms, but just realize technology has changed the recruiting industry, and virtual is here to stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, that was awesome. We're going to hear from Christy Basu next. I don't know if everybody had a chance to eat taste one of her protein brownies, but she is another amazing entrepreneur. I am incredibly inspired by this woman. Her branding is off the charts. And I always say, just pushes the edge, and I love it. So I'm going to introduce Christy. I just love to share this story. Her first year in business, she worked out of her kitchen and almost made $1 million her first year. So we're going to watch her video and see how she is basically disrupting the food industry.
We believe that the world has always deserved better-for-you foods that taste delicious. Unfortunately, delicious was kidnapped by unhealthy ingredients. High fructose corn syrup, trans fats. For decades, Delicious has been held captive by big corporations and shiny brands. They have dictated what Delicious is supposed to be. Delicious is sold through media and supermarkets to millions around the world. Perhaps these dishonest products taste good, but the harsh reality is people are sacrificing their health by eating them. Sadly, big corporations have defined unhealthy processed foods as delicious. Society has been tricked, but we are here to fight on behalf of all people. So we have made it our mission to free Delicious from all unhealthy brands and ingredients, and to put the power to eat better-for-you foods back into the hands of the consumers. The future of eating healthier is here. We are taking Delicious back and surrounding it with better ingredients. This is what Delicious has always deserved. At Eat Me Guilt Free, we are driven by a higher purpose. That freedom should not have limitations. Power to the people. Eating delicious, better-for-you foods is a freedom every person deserves. So let's free Delicious together. For yourself, for your loved ones, for the good of humankind.
So at Eat Me Guilt Free, one of the core beliefs is that freedom should exist without limitations. It's what guides us. It's why I started this business in my kitchen 7 years ago. As a registered nurse and a certified sports nutritionist, I noticed that people really were needing more choices, more food choices. They felt trapped. They basically had to choose between being healthy and eating something that tasted good. So, unfortunately, the food industry, the huge conglomerates, have taught us and trained us to believe that if something is healthy, it has to taste like sawdust, right? So one of the things that I guess it's an interesting comparison is if you were to take delicious food and make it up with like processed ingredients, high fructose corn syrup, and other things that would probably affect your health, and then you took the same delicious food and used premium ingredients that wouldn't affect your health, most people would probably not choose to be at health risk and to be unhealthy. So this is how the entire sector for the better for you foods has been born, right? It's disrupting the entire industry, much like Airbnb disrupted travel and Uber disrupted transportation. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with an ice cream company called Halo Top. Tastes pretty good, right? About 3 or 4 years ago, they were in the headlines of the New York Times because they outsold Haagen-Dazs. And this is why you see all these new better-for-you brands in the ice cream aisle. So it's really interesting how now the better-for-you industry is like bringing clarity. There's barriers that are being broken between the brands and the consumer because it's easier to talk to the brands and we're listening to what the consumer wants. And really, the future of food, this is short and sweet, the future of food is not having to choose between your health and eating something delicious. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to just mention too, do you want to just tell them about your scholarship real quick? You have a scholarship?
Sure, yeah, I just thought we were talking about the future of food, so I didn't.
No, but Christy gives back a lot too. And since
Yeah, so we just started during the pandemic. We had some time as a company, not just personally, to really look at what we were doing and the money we were making and what we wanted to give back towards. And I guess a lot of my hardships had a lot to do with not having mentors, not having a business background. So we founded or started the U Global Women's Entrepreneur Grant. So this last year was our first inaugural year, did really well. And we're really excited to continue. We're mentoring. We basically gave her $10,000 mentoring. $10,000 scholarship. We're, it's like a mind, body, spirit. So we also are mentoring her. We are giving her a Peloton bike because we all know that you need a healthy body to kind of keep going. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah.
We're all here about giving back, so thank you. Okay, we are in for a treat with Mark Alfieri, who is the CEO of this amazing, amazing studio. And again, what a gift for us, everyone in the room, and what a treat to be here. Mark, we're so grateful. Again, just consider you a mentor in everything that you've done and knowing you through all of your employees that are just incredible. So thank you so much again. I'm going to hand this over to Mark to watch the video and also to talk about the future of the media.
You're building these 3D environments which will sync up with your principal photography in this virtual realm, but then you're overlaying the virtual realm in camera. Be able to incorporate the Scorpio crane, the Sony Venice, the Moses camera tracking system.
Grandster is the fusion of gaming world and the television and film production world. Using the Unreal Engine, creating environments that look incredibly real.
only XR studio that I know that's up and running with a 1.9 millimeter wall that can do up to 12K. So this is technically, as of now, the only current studio at that function.
And I've done lots of innovations along my career, but this particular innovation has me more excited than anything we've done in the past, because it is the future of production. This is absolutely awesome. The most incredible thing that I've ever seen in production has taken place this week.
Wow. Well, I'm grateful for everybody for coming into this event and the folks that are tuning in online, because ultimately we're not here about businesses, even though we're going to talk leadership. We're talking about purpose, right? And the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is the purpose, right? That's why we're here tonight, guys, is that we're here to support giving it forward, paying it back. We are blessed. We have so many people that are not in the same situation that we are. And as all the leaders came up here and spoke, I mean, wow, there's nothing more really to add to their stories, because if you listen to it, it's really about being different, right? So for me, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and what you're seeing here behind you, or what you're seeing here in this environment, is really about what I would just term one thing, and that's called the law of the opposites, right? And the opposite from taking is giving, right? And so you have entrepreneurs up here that have looked at what's going on in the community or what's going on out there in the world, and they're saying, how do we do something that's different? The law of the opposites, we talked about recruiting. It's literally doing something different, right? Being disruptive. Don't do the same thing that everybody else is doing and expect to get something different. And so that's the commitment. And Jayson's points and Heather and all the speakers here were so absolutely wonderful. But you know what, for me, what really stood out, I'm sitting here and I didn't know what people were going to talk about tonight. I knew this is the future leaders, but for me, it was really about saying, okay, there's principles. And if you actually follow the pattern of each one of these wonderful entrepreneurs and their journey, working out of your kitchen, Mark kind of talking about the different kinds of conversations that we have. Just across the board, it's being different, standing out. So I'm supposed to talk about the future of media, right? Where's it going? But the bottom line is that the future of media is not really the issue. It's how are you going to connect with your audiences? And as you can see, is that each one of us that have had success in our businesses is that we actually got that authentic voice about living for a purpose, doing something to make a difference, doing something better. Brands exist for one of two reasons. They either solve a problem that there's not a solution for, or they realize that the solutions that are out there in the marketplace are inadequate to solve the problem as well as it should be solved. And each brand that we look at that has success, and we've heard about a few this evening, the person that was behind that said, you know what, I can do this better. I can do it different. Whether it's working in an environment that was toxic and saying, you know what, I'll never do that again. I'm gonna teach people how to get out of that, to empower themselves to get out of that part. Or, you know what, the air filtration, wow, okay, I have a personal situation that's happened in my life, and I'm gonna take that personal situation and I'm gonna turn it into doing good, doing something that's better, that I can pay it forward to lives that are outside of my own. And if I have to suffer to do it because I have to pay the price, then I will, because I believe where it can become. So the future of media is not whether you're on TikTok or whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on whatever platform is about to come out. The future of media isn't about living in the metaverse, which is all the stuff that we're talking about here, and NFTs and people that are actually building assets in different parts of it. Those are all wonderful things. But ultimately, you can live in the future of media, but if you don't have a message to tell that stands out from the crowd, that is authentic, that's about doing something good, You know, Mark Noodleberg said it really, really well. The time of fakes is gone. Because guess what? The power today is in our phone. There's nothing that we can't become an expert at by just taking 5 or 6 seconds and looking online, putting a search up there, watching a video. This technology that you just saw, for me, a year ago, didn't exist. It didn't exist in my mind. It existed in the market, all right? This volume here has been built from me watching a video online. And the content of that video online was, wow, there's this show called The Mandalorian. It's a Star Wars story. And they decided to do it differently than they've done every other Star Wars story in the past. They innovated. That's what we're talking about, disruption and innovation. So they went and built this $100 million virtual stage. And they told you all the reasons why you need to have a virtual stage and why that's the future of production. And now you can tell your story. You can tell it to audiences in a different way. You can save money in production. You can value engineer. It's innovation. You know, we're partnered up with the NSU Innovation Center, the Alan Levin Innovation Center. And we got some of our young entrepreneurs that are here, that are in different stages of what's called the founder's journey. They're either in one of 4 stages. They're either ideating, where they have an idea in their mind about how to disrupt something that hasn't been invented yet, but they're gonna ideate it. And the center is gonna help them do that. Or incubate it. I got the idea, now let's figure out how we can actually cook this a little bit, bake it. And the center comes along and helps with those entrepreneurs in that. Or accelerate it. We got it, it works. Now let's figure out how we can grow it and how we can grow it faster. If we're growing it today, let's figure out how to do it faster. And then post-accelerate, which is at that part of the journey for a founder, being in a situation where now I've made my success, I want an exit, or I want to turn this over to somebody else so that I can then do what I was built to do as an entrepreneur. And I can tell you, it's very, very common. Every entrepreneur has the same DNA. I can tell it to you. They're driven by something, a purpose that's greater than themselves. So they're driven that I want to do this, so now I have what I have. And I think Jayson said it well, and a few others said it well. And if you don't do something with what you have to pay it forward, you will be empty. You can have the biggest house on the hill. You can have as many cars as you can buy, and you will be empty. And so, you know, I don't really have much more to add tonight because, again, I'd be taking away from just world-class speakers that cover on every one of these topics that are foundational to success. For the young leaders that are out there, you will be successful by doing the opposites. Doing things that nobody else is willing to do to get what nobody else is willing to get. To persevere through trial and tribulation. To have the tenacity to say, you know what, I am not going to allow this to fail. I am not going to take that naysayer or that can't person or that individual that's saying, I'm holding you down. It's been done 1,000 times before. You're too small. You have no money. You can't do this. You're going to waste this. Your family's going to go broke. But that entrepreneurial spirit kicks in. I created a term for it. It's called risk tolerance disorder. And if it's not in Wikipedia, I want to figure out how to do that. And that's what it is. We're not driven by fear. We overcome our fear because we have a purpose that's greater than ourselves. Ultimately, that's it. And some of the entrepreneurs figure it out early. Some highly successful individuals, they could have billions of dollars in the bank and they're still searching because they don't know what it is. And then when we give them purpose, man, do they really change the world? So I'm grateful for this organization. I'm grateful for what you guys are doing because it's selfless, and that you get 10x back. You know, one thing I'll leave everybody with tonight is that you get 10x back by being a giver as opposed to a taker. And so I thank everybody for coming tonight. I thank you, Cindy, for putting this on. This is an incredible night for us to just get some messages out here, to give people hope, give people energy, and I'm grateful for us to be able to host this at Brandstar Night. So thank you, guys.
It's Awesome. Thank everyone so much for coming. One thing I just want to mention before we close, we have a raffle. So we're going to, if Vanessa can grab the little bowl. One other thing I just wanted to let everyone know, we were going to play a video called Jennifer's Journey, which is about Ron's cousin, and it's amazing. So you can see the video if you go to ronsy.com. ronsy.com. You can see the video, and you can also make a donation to cystic fibrosis. So we would love for you to do that. We put on this hopefully very, very wonderful event with amazing speakers. We're so grateful to all the speakers to donate their time. We're so grateful to, again, Mark and his whole BrandStar team. They were incredible. Grateful to Ron for being the chair of Cystic Fibrosis, for getting us involved. And this wonderful woman here, stand up, Colette. She works tirelessly. Come up, come up, come up. Yes. She works tirelessly to put these events together for cystic fibrosis. And yes, she's amazing. And the Pied Piper, she does so many amazing things for this organization. So I just wanted to say thank you. She's also a dear friend. So do we have the raffles? We want to bring them up and we can pull out the, we were going to have, oh, okay. Yes, please come up. ronsy.com. Okay, Colette, you were going to do this. Come up and just take the raffle. And by the way, we had so many great swag bags that are going to be given away from Jayson's podcast, True Underdog. And we also have an APCO X, which is valued at over $1,000, right? That's what we... $5,000. Shop around. Okay, come on out, Vanessa. So, okay, we're going to see how this... Shuffle?
Yes, we did. I shuffled. I did, I promise.
Okay, we have 979-7255. Does anybody have that? I hope. I know. I hope that someone's here. Gotta be in it to win it, right? Okay, I guess nobody has it. 979-7255. Winner? Do we have a winner? Come on out. Ooh! Who's the winner? So really everything on the table and one swag bag is yours, and then we're going to, and then we're going to raffle off a, so BrandStar is donating a 30-second experience, right, in the studio? So, yeah, so you can do a 30-second spot for social media that you can use with this amazing studio. So it'll be filmed professionally, and that'll be the next item that we'll be giving away. Go ahead, Colette. Shake it up, shake it up. Okay, 979-7254. Ron, that's the engineer that you just remember. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Oh, do you mind giving it to the next? Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. All right. The next one is 979-7264. Woo! Okay, so you are invited to BrandStar, and you will get the 30-second TLC at BrandStar. Yeah, well, it's at the back on the table. We can get it on the way up, but you can stand up here. We'll just film until, and then we have 3 more swag bags that we're going to give away. So we'll just try to run through this. 979-7189. 979-7189. Anyone? Really? Okay, you get a swag bag. Okay, well, you both get swag bags, so we'll see. We have quite a few of those, so. Okay, 797-7236. Oh, sorry, hello. It's been a long day, you guys. 979-7236. No one? Okay. 979-7373. Yay! So we have one more swag bag that we'll be giving away. 979-7232. Yay! So you guys can follow me into the back, and then we can give you the goodies. Sure. Yes. Let's take a picture. Hunter, can you come up? And Ryan, you come up. See us, people. See us. No, Hunter, you come up.
I made it. I don't know.
Thank you. Okay, all right, well, that's it for the evening. You guys, thank you so much for coming. Take a brownie on the way out.